Cardinals manager Tony La Russa likes what he sees so far in 09. Right-hander Joel Pinheiro 2-0 through the first 2 weeks, and he'll measure up the Mets tonight. The day may be done, but the night is just getting started. Rivalry week, Cardinals, Mets, next on Fox Sports Midwest. Absolutely gorgeous night for baseball in the Gateway City. It's Game 2 between the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. So many things to talk about from Game 1 from last night here at Busch Stadium. Whether it be Yadier Molina, so many defensive plays that stood out for Yadi. That was early on. Twice there were plays at the plate. One was a game changer. How about Rick Ankiel? RBI double down the right field line. That proved to be the game winner for the St. Louis Cardinals. And then at the end of the game, Ryan Franklin closed it out with a 1-2-3. And the Cardinals take Game 1 over the New York Mets after falling behind 4-0 early on in that game. Welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Dan McLaughlin. That's Al Rabosky. And Al, there's so many things to talk about from last night, but I know you want to talk about the bullpen, in particular a guy that gets overlooked a little bit in the win, and that's Kyle McClellan.
Well, we've talked so much and negatively about the bullpen. Let's be positive. And Kyle McClellan really assumed his role. I love what he said in the paper, that whether it's in the 6th inning, 7th inning, or 8th inning, I've got to do my job. And the bullpen was outstanding. Kyle with 2 shutout innings. Mott had a big out. And then Ryan Franklin closed it out with his 3rd save.
And when we come back, we'll talk about the starters for tonight. A pair of right-handers as John Maine will get the start for the Mets, and Joel Pinheiro gets the start for St. Louis. Maine, Pinheiro, Mets, Cardinals. Game 2 coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. We're glad you're with us as David Wright and the Mets are getting set for the Cardinals tonight here at Busch Stadium. Pair of right-handers, and let's take a look at John Maine. First and foremost, what stands out about him, Al?
Well, he's coming off his shoulder surgery. He is healthy. They say he's throwing the ball well. The results have not been that good.
So Maine gets the start for the Mets, and for the Cardinals, Joel Pinheiro.
2-0 on the season. He's healthy, and it shows with the win column.
When we come back, we'll take a look at how Tony La Russa makes out his lineup. Cal Eldred will go in Tony's office when we come back. Have you ever wondered what goes into Tony La Russa's lineup? Well, his former pitcher, Cal Eldred, had a chance to visit with the skipper about tonight's lineup. Let's go inside the clubhouse.
This is a lineup on the way I've written it out on my little sheet, and what I'll do is this is the lineup gets posted on the dugout wall.
All right.
And out here, with this, the black pin for home, blue for the road team, which is the Mets. When we go on the road, Cardinals are blue. Right.
Is that something you did? Is that your day?
Yeah, it's my silly little stupidness.
Okay, that's your system. All right.
No, it's not a system. It's silly little stupidness. But it's just the way you do it.
You said that.
I mean it too.
Okay.
So I will write Schumacher.
All right.
He's our leadoff guy. Mm-hmm. So once you know that your outfielders are Ankiel, Rasmus, and Duncan, where do they go? So I'm going to write Rasmus into the 2nd spot, CC or RSM.
Yep.
Dunk's going to hit 4th. He's been doing a real good job driving runs. Ant going to hit 5th.
And he had a good day yesterday.
So you don't want to sit him today. You want to build on that.
All right.
Kobe hasn't played. It would be 3 days. This will be the 4th day. He needs to play.
All right.
And Chris continues to be one of our most productive RBI and rally type hitters. So,
okay.
Chris will get a rest or 2 this week, and they're all going to get it. It just so happens Ludwig today. So
all right.
Start making your calls and your emails.
There it is, folks. So, this is there. Now you're understanding why Ludwig is not in the lineup today, according to Tony La Russa.
Because he's going to sit 1 day this week. It happens to be today.
Okay.
He plays tomorrow afternoon against Rangers.
Which is a tough right-hander here.
Yeah,
Maine's good.
Yeah,
good
so it's not a bad guy from sit against, except here's one of the difficulties, Cal.
Okay.
And I've explained this to Ryan. Ryan hits right-hand pitching. So he's really not a platoon guy.
Right.
He hits everybody. But you try to figure a matchup that he could handle, but it's really good for somebody else, maybe even a little better.
Well, and you don't really platoon an all-star.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
All right, Cal Eldred with Tony La Russa on tonight's lineup. Clubhouse Confidential with Cal. We'll talk about the Mets and the Cardinals bullpen when we come back. Back at Busch Stadium, it's game 2 between the Mets and the Cardinals. Let's bring in Cal Eldred, Clubhouse Confidential, and let's start with this. The Mets are 6-7, big payroll, new stadium, sloppy game yesterday, Cal. So what's going on right now in their clubhouse?
Well, it's interesting, talking to some of their players and talking to some of the coaches, just a standpoint that there's a lot of media pressure from the first standpoint with them. And now, with the play with Murphy in left field yesterday, he's feeling the pressure. You also got Beltran not sliding at home plate. These are things that, they can't afford to do and continue to win ball games, and that's why they're 6-7.
Now you look at the Cardinals off to a very good start. The bullpen, a big story last night. 4 innings, solid relief. What's going on in that bullpen? At the end of your career, you were in that bullpen. So what's going on after a game like last night?
Well, I think they feel really good last night. I had a chance to talk to Jason Mott, and just a simple fact, I said, Jason, doesn't get any easier than that, 1 pitch and a win. And, he said, yeah, but they need some of that. You look at Kyle McClellan and what he did last night, those 2 innings were outstanding. You get Franklin come in, close the door. If they can have those things set up like that with the left-hander, right-hander there in the 8th, this is going to be a lot smoother for them down there.
All right, Cal, thank you. Good job on the pregame show. And with Tony La Russa, we're back with baseball in just a moment. Starting lineups and our first pitch next on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Reach for the balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town, choose Auto Tire. We shop the competitors so you don't have to. And by Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. That was earlier today. Jay Nixon there, Charlie Dooley, Ozzie Smith, the Hall of Famer, and a guy named Pujols, and Mike Shannon emceeing as they talked about the festivities coming to St. Louis, the All-Star Game on July 14th. But as we have talked about, Al, and we have seen the releases and visited with people that have hosted an All-Star Game, it's much more than just the game that week. Leading into it, it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a base hit for Jose Reyes.
I wasn't part of the fun, but you're absolutely right. About 5 straight days, and Cardinals won them against this same lineup yesterday with different pitcher.
So Reyes with a base hit, Daniel Murphy, and then David Wright, Delgado, Beltran, and Church, Castro, Castillo yesterday, 2 for 4, career hit number 1700, and then John Maine, the pitcher. 17 straight now for the Mets to start this season against a right-hander. And you look at their lineup, Reyes at 339. This young man Murphy at 320, David Wright 306, Delgado 300, Beltran 354, and Church 350. The first 6 in the lineup 300 or better.
And they have 3 left-handed hitters, 3 switch hitters in their lineup.
And one of those is at first. Down the left field line, and Duncan, a nice play. That's a heck of a play by Chris Duncan near that left field line and right by the stands as well, and right by the sidewall. This is not an easy play.
Now you can see him reaching out there and knows that wall is coming into, at some point he's going to run into it, but under control, gets over there, makes the catch, and was able to brace himself before he hit that wall hard.
We have a gorgeous night here in St. Louis. It's 71 degrees. How about this afternoon? It was perfect.
Beautiful day, and going to be a picture perfect day tomorrow afternoon for good baseball weather.
Marshall Wireless starter is Joel Pinheiro, and he has a record of 2-0, 11 2/3, 4 walks. He has struck out 5, and opponents hitting .354. It just seems like when he's on the mound, more times than not, the offense for the Cardinals comes alive.
Well, and it just seems like he's very comfortable this year. He's healthy. He's getting good sync on his action on his pitches, working both sides of the plate. He's going to give up some hits, but he also has that ability to get a ground ball double play.
Now, David Wright had 124 RBIs last year. He has 1 so far this year that's fouled back off of Molina. But think about this. David Wright had 267 at-bats with runners in scoring position a season ago.
Well, that gives you an idea of their offense and how they can get those guys on, particularly Reyes in front of them.
2 strikes on Wright.
And, you know, a year ago, Delgado was really so slow, you know, getting out of the gate. He finished strong. So this year, would they have to pitch to David Wright, but he hasn't produced just yet, but he will.
There's a move by Pinheiro to check on Reyes. Reyes, of course, a steal threat to steal. He had 56 steals a year ago, already this season with 3.
What, 4 consecutive years of 50 or more?
That's right. 50+ steals last year, 70+ extra base hits. That hurts.
Quite. Remember David Wright opening up and swinging so hard.
And Reyes and Pujols having a visit. The All-Star summer here in St. Louis. We'll visit with Jay Nixon coming up in the 3rd inning. And we hope to visit at some point, maybe, fingers crossed, with Ozzie Smith, the Hall of Famer. That's in the dirt. David Wright, outstanding player for the Mets. And Pinheiro, as you mentioned, would love a ground ball here and get the double play and send us to the bottom of the 1st.
It's one thing we've seen is his sinker is much more consistent this year.
And the Cardinals have talked about with Joel Pinheiro the fact that he came into spring training in great shape. Very pleased with that.
Remember, he started the season on the disabled list, then he had another bout on the DL and never really got on track last year.
And another check on Reyes.
A lot of times that's ordered from the bench as Tony tries to control the running game. Got a ground ball pitcher, so good speed by Reyes, so look for them to start the runner.
If you're the Mets and you see what he's done against St. Louis, what's your opinion of Yadier Molina? He beat you back in 2006. He picked off Daniel Murphy in the first last night. He had 2 plays at the plate in which he blocked the plate. The play of the game was Beltran. You're thinking this guy is a tremendous player, and he is.
Exactly right. We see it and appreciate his skills on a daily basis, but Tony just calls him the best catcher in baseball.
3-2 pitch. Runner goes, lined, and a double play. They'll just tag him out. That was Schumacher. And he just tags out Jose Reyes. Cardinals coming up in their half of the 1st. We sent Tony West back to Forest Park again for game 2. And we move now to the bottom of the 1st here in St. Louis. A look at Tony La Russa's lineup. Schumacher, Rasmus, and Pujols. Chris Duncan, a 13-game hitting streak on the line tonight. And Keel, Molina, Green, Thurston, and Pinheiro. And that's a look at the Cardinals lineup against a very good right-hander when he's healthy. And that's John Maine. Skip Schumacher was not in the lineup last night, in there today. 2 starts for Maine, and he's 0-1 with an ERA over 7. Doesn't waste much time. 2 balls and no strikes.
Talked to Mets pitching coach Dan Warthen, and he said that the results have not been good, but he has pitched very well.
And there's a strike at the knees to Skip.
There's Danny. And I reminded him that when we both got in pro ball, you never would hire a left-hander to be a pitching coach.
And what was his response to that?
He goes
you're in the booth.
He goes in now, and you know the only thing that can relate to some pitchers is a left-handed relief pitcher.
Things have changed a little
Randy
bit.
Neiman is their bullpen coach, and he's also a left-hander.
Right. 2-2 to Skip. Outside, 3-2.
Well, I used to think left-handers are a little flaky. I don't know why they think that, but
Not with you, Al.
no, exactly. I'm very serious.
You're right down.
Right down, straight and narrow.
That's right. That's a pop foul out of play. What do you think of Cal Eldred's interview with Tony La Russa concerning his lineup? He says a series or 2 before, he goes through a detailed report of what he wants.
I want to know what, when the camera was off, Tony had a question about, well, you know, you don't platoon All-Stars, do you?
We went right to break. So leadoff walk, and here is Colby Rasmus, who is the right fielder tonight. Let's meet the defense of the Mets, and this is brought to you by Auto Tire. Murphy, Beltran, Church, Wright, Reyes, Castillo, and Delgado. Battery tonight, John Main and Ramon Castro. So here is Colby Rasmus, who is hitting .235, no home runs, and 2 RBIs.
And we learned in that interview that Rasmus is in the lineup because he hadn't played for the last 3 days and wanted to keep him swinging the bat well.
And he said that Ludwig will probably play 5 of the next 6. But again, Cal, the outstanding journalist that he is,
yes,
followed up by saying, hey, wait a minute. It's tough to platoon an all-star. And he's right. That's not an easy decision. Who do you sit? You've got a guy with a hitting streak. You've got Ankiel, who last night had 3 hits. He's starting to bust out. And then you have Ludwig, his first game that he didn't have a hit.
Right. He had 21 straight hits going back to last year and leading the league, and are tied for home runs and RBIs. But
that's a base hit down the first base line past Delgado. Schumacher to third. He'll stop there, and here comes Albert. Good start here for the Redbirds.
Good start. Rasmus, because of that speed, Al McRae says he really likes him, and it's only a matter of time before he thinks he's going to be an everyday player.
And Al, you and I, after watching this first at bat by Colby Rasmus, we couldn't be in more agreement with Tony La Russa. This is the guy to play.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
After the at-bat, it made that decision a lot easier for the both of us.
What a great decision that was.
How can you let Pujols play, though?
I mean, give me a break, huh? So nobody out, and here is Pujols. Albert Pujols, he was in a little bit of a slump for Albert Pujols. By the way, 4 for 9 against John Main. He had been 1 for his last 12, and then he had that broken bat double, and he hit it almost to the track with a broken bat. And that was last night, and a couple of runs would score, and that got the Cardinals going. Eventually, a couple of walks, they tied it up, and then they won that ball game.
About 4 home runs already, 16 RBIs, ties for the league lead.
Ooh.
With Ethier and Ludwig.
Vicious cut that time by Pujols. I thought it was great, though. Cal went into Tony La Russa's office, and of course, Cal played a vital role over the years for Tony La Russa, and to have a former player go in there and ask him those questions about his lineup, about the different sheets, I thought it was great.
Well, and the thing is when you're playing, you got tunnel vision.
Pujols out to deep left field, backing up Murphy to make the catch. Schumacher will tag, and it's 1-0 St. Louis.
You think you pay attention to everything, and obviously the pitching staff, and later in his years here with St. Louis, Cal was knew the bullpen and worried about that. But when you're through, you worry about all 25 players. See the ball up, little movement, and Albert knows that's going to produce a fly ball if you just center it, and didn't hit it out, but got the sacrifice fly and leads the league with his 17.
Al, now Pujols there is down 0-2, and this is Duncan, a foul tip. When you're down 0-2 as a hitter, you've talked to so many hitters, you're not sure what's coming next, and there's a pitch up above the letters, and yet he's still able to not just pop it up, but drive it into left and almost knocked it out of the park.
And see that pitch, John Main's thinking is like, okay, I'm going to get the pop up in the infield or a swing and miss. But that's to a normal hitter. Albert was at the plate.
Albert is just not human, is he? I mean, this guy is something else. It doesn't matter the count, the situation. He produces all the time.
How about Duncan this year?
Yeah, Duncan's been very good. He's finally healthy, and Duncan with that 13-game hitting streak. He's in left field tonight, hitting .362, couple of home runs, and 11 RBIs.
He's hit in all games he's started.
Cardinals would win last night down by 4 runs, and now they jump out to a 1-0 lead.
That's something they did rarely last season, right? Battle
Always
back
playing.
from a game when trailing by 4 or more.
Always playing catch up. The Cardinals won only 2 games all of last season after trailing by 4 or more runs. Lowest total since 1997. Here's a 2-2 pitch to the Cardinal left fielder tonight. And that's low. Already 18 pitches here in the first inning. A problem for the Mets has been their starting rotation. It has not been their offense, as we noted. The first 6 are hitting 300 or better in their lineup tonight. Their bullpen, for the most part, outside of last night, has been very, very good. Duncan pulls it to the right side, and Delgado will take it and steps on the bag. Rasmus over to third. Then it brings in Ricky Ankiel. You would hope last night really gets Rick going.
Well, particularly in the fact that I believe it was the last 3 at bats where he got the base hits.
By the way, Tony La Russa has managed exactly 100 regular season games against the Mets, and his team is 48-52 in those games.
How you like Ankiel's mustache?
Well, if it makes him hit, I love it.
Trimmed it down from the full beard. Got 3 hits with it last night.
Why are you asking me? I'm a guy that can barely grow facial hair. You, of course, were noted for the Fu Manchu. So maybe I should ask you, as this is popped up, and that'll find the seats. I mean, you're the guy that can evaluate facial hair, not me.
It's a work in progress.
So if he lets it go down a little bit further,
you got to let it creep down on the sides.
What do you think of Raleigh fingers? I mean, were you a fan of that?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
You know how that all started?
Well, I'm going to find out.
Yeah. I believe it was 72, 73, around there. He was playing for the Oakland A's, and Charlie Finley, there was no mustaches in baseball, and Charlie Finley said at the end of the season we're going to have a mustache day. Paid all the players $300.
That's big money back
then.
then.
Tell you how it's changed. Dal Maxwell was on that team. He goes, I've never had a mustache. I didn't want it. He said, we're going to pay you $300. He said, I'll start growing a mustache. But that was the origin of his handlebar mustache,
which he's kept now.
Yes.
And strikeout of Ricky Ankiel. Cardinals, though, strike first. The RBI by Pujols. 1-0 St. Louis, 1 hit aside. New York and the St. Louis Cardinals. You go back to 2007, that was the great start that Joel Pinheiro had that really earned him the contract the next couple of years. It was a makeup date, and he had 8 innings in those games. Since then, 5 and then 4, but the run support has been terrific.
Yeah, and I think you got to remember, last year we talked about he was 7-7, a couple times on the disabled list, and really never caught up with his conditioning. So we expect him to be a little bit better this time. Maybe not quite as good as 07, but you're right. That makeup game was probably his best as a Cardinal.
I think so. And here's Carlos Delgado, batted 196 over the previous 2 Aprils. Got off to very slow starts. 4th lowest such average in the National League. But he already has more extra base hits, 7, and RBIs 14 this year than he had in either of the previous 2 Aprils.
Remember, people felt he was done last year. First half, he just got off to such a slow. Really picked up the pace and became the terrific player he is.
See the highest percentage of any team and runs batted in. Delgado, boy, he has just been outstanding. Votto at the top of that list. Pena, Benji Molina, Nick Markakis of Baltimore. But over the course of his career, Al, this guy has just been a tremendous player, an RBI producer, a home run machine, especially in his time in Toronto.
Yeah, he's over 1,500 RBIs, 472, closing in on Hall of Famers Stan Musial and Willie Stargell. They had 475.
At one point, he had 4 home runs in a game. When I think of Delgado, I think of another Blue Jay that did it, Sean Green. And he is out of baseball now. Mets picked him up at the tail end of his career. Here's a 2-2 pitch to Carlos Delgado. Out to center field. Backing up very calmly, Ricky Ankiel. Everybody else was thinking, uh-oh. That includes me. I'm not sure about you, but definitely me. Our auto tire defense. Duncan, Anfield, and Rasmussen the outfield. Thurston, Khalil Green, Schumacher, and Pujols along the infield. Joel Pinheiro and Yadier Molina. 26 pickoffs for Molina. Saw that stat there in the bottom of his graphic. And here's Carlos Beltran. You know, the amazing thing about Beltran, I guess because all the focus is on postseason play and what your team does and what particular individuals do to elevate their team. Beltran has just been okay against the Cardinals in the regular season as he singles now to right. But obviously in the postseason he was great with Houston. He's been pretty good with the Mets, but regular season, okay.
Well, before this at bat, it's 225, and that went up as he had a couple base hits, and here a base running blunder as he does not slide, and Yachty gets him, seals it off with his left foot right in front of the plate and stepped on it and never touched home plate.
And you have to wonder why he didn't slide. Jerry Manuel was asked about that. He said, I'm not sure why he didn't. And if he scores, it's a completely different game, because at that point it makes it 5-4 Mets. And I think the other thing you have to look at, Al, is that after that inning, you have a guy that has struggled in left field, and that's Daniel Murphy. And if you're leading by a run, you probably take him out of the game.
For defense.
Right. And Brendan Ryan would triple over his head on a miscue, a play that should have been made. So there's a lot of things that went into the ball game last night. Mets had a 4-0 lead. That was lost. What's also lost in the game, catcher's interference to load the bases in the 6th. You might remember that. They had 2 bases loaded walks in the game. The misplay in left that we've talked about, and then Beltran, of course, the obvious one, not sliding, which didn't make any sense to anybody here at the ballpark.
Well, you just have to anticipate you need to slide. When you slide feet first, you know, you can kick that leg out of the way. You can dislodge the ball. You know, you collide with the catcher, you know, sliding feet first when he's trying to receive that throw where, you know, Thurston kind of threw it wildly and blindly. You didn't know how accurate it'd be.
Schumacher, Green, and Pujols. Double play. The second in 2 innings for the Cardinals. Molina, Green, and Thurston all coming up. There's a look at second baseman Skip Schumacher. I talked to him at length in Chicago about these plays right here. Here's the Hot Shots Exmo cam. Hot Shots, 1 block from the ballpark here in downtown St. Louis on Broadway. And he said these are probably the toughest plays. When you think about where you need to be positioned, how you deliver the ball, is it going to be a shovel pass? Is it underhand? Do you go overhand? How do you throw it? Well, all different things.
But with all the work he puts in with Jose Oquendo and Joe Patini, it's becoming second nature. And you saw how he collapsed the bare hand over the glove, get it in position where he can grab that ball and make the strong, accurate little shovel pass. You know, it's all become repetitious, and he's looking more and more comfortable.
Well, I get to the ballpark early at 3 o'clock.
I get here at 9:30.
And he was not on the field at 9:30. I can tell you, though, around 3 o'clock he was here.
Well, when I get here at 9:30, I didn't say he was here on the field.
Well, I didn't see it. That's interesting. So apparently you get here about 6, I think, huh? All right. Visit the official online shop of the Cardinals at STLCardinals.com. You can browse the largest selection of authentic gear, including caps, T-shirts, jerseys, and more. Get your Cardinals gear straight from the source. STLCardinals.com.
No, 6 a.m. is spring training time I get here.
And then you just basically every night when we're at home, we set up a couch behind us, and you don't go home because you want to be around the game so much.
Yeah,
no matter what, you're here at the ballpark.
I was at Garfield Elementary School today.
You and Fredbird, I assume.
Yeah.
Do you scare those children, or are you nice to the children?
I have a good time with them. I really do.
That's not answering my question. You may scare them.
No, I think Fredbird scares half of them.
That's probably true.
It is true.
I can speak on my son's behalf. He was scared when he saw Fredbird the first time. But then I gave him the Fredbird bobblehead. He thought that was one of the neatest things he's ever gotten in his life. So, hey, take your choice. The real Fred Bird or the bobblehead. There's a walk to Green. You know, Khalil Green had a big walk in the ball game last night. Bases loaded walk.
Well, he had 3 walks last night, so his 4th walk in the series. The first walk here tonight by Maine, the Schumacher came around to score.
I said to Joe Thurston before the game tonight, I said, you know, that play at the plate, I guess that's the way you draw it up, huh?
Nope.
Get the snap tag, it gets away, and then you fire home, and the guy doesn't slide, and you get out of the jam. Says not quite. Joe has been a nice addition to this club, and you know, we talk so much about Miles and how he would be missed on this team, but yet you look at Thurston, you look at Barden, those two have played very well.
They've really picked up the slack, and you get 2 for 1.
That's outside. And the pitch count is plus 30 right now for John Maine. You got the first man, Molina. Hard hit ball to third, and the walk to Khalil Green. And it's 1-0 on Joe Thurston, who's hitting above 300. He's at 313 with no home runs and 7 RBIs. But Thurston and Barden, with Gloss out, those two have played very well. Joe, a very likable guy. Runner goes, swing and a miss on a hit and run, and out at second, Khalil Green. So caught stealing. A bang play there at second base.
Castro's thrown out about 25% of runners in his career, and get a good pitch to throw. Khalil Green, and very close, whether he got in there ahead of the tag, but
and now it's 1-2 on Joe Thurston with Pinheiro on deck. That's in the dirt. 2-2.
It's the first time Green has been thrown out in 2 attempts, and the second time Cardinals have lost a base stealer in 9 attempts.
Count even, and here's the 2-2 pitch to Thurston. Popped up, and that'll find the seats. Al, we have a big fan that watches every single game. 10-year-old Nicholas Strickland. He's in the hospital right now. My understanding is that he's doing much better, but he always watches our games with his mom and dad, and all he can say is, we wish you were here, and when you get better, get out of the hospital, come find us, and come on up to the booth and spend a day with us. That's Nicholas Strickland. Big Cardinal fan. 1-0 St. Louis. 1-0 here in the top of the third. The Cardinals have the lead. There's Derek. We see him every day when we come to the ballpark, including the governor, and that's Jay Nixon.
Hall of Famers only, baby.
Hall of Famers only.
We're on the way.
Wow, even Jay Nixon slipped by that. Nice to see you, Governor. How are you?
I'm great. Great to be here. What a beautiful evening, and the All-Star game being here this summer. Everybody is fired up.
Yeah, everybody is fired up. We're excited here in St. Louis. Where are you from originally?
Born and raised in DeSoto, Missouri, about 40 miles south of here.
That's also known, at least in my book, as Cardinal Country.
Definitely. Out makes it a little difficult on me when I go to Kansas City, so you got to be careful here.
I didn't want to put you on the spot, but you know, you've got to play both sides of the state here.
It's
so
just hard to wear that blue.
I understand. I understand. Okay. So tell us about what you've gone through today, because today was really the official kickoff of the All-Star game here in St. Louis.
Yeah, we kicked off the All-Star game. A lot of solid announcements today. Cardinal Care coming up with $2 million to the local community. This will have $60 million impact the whole game to this area.
There's a ground ball to short off the bat of Ramon Castro, and Khalil Green puts him away for the first out. And all right, Governor, I got to put you on the spot here. No hanging chads, okay? So what was your All-Star ballot like?
Well, I don't want to get into trouble by saying I voted for Freeze, because he's not currently on the roster. I hate to. I hope that count. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I went ahead and did. You got to vote for the St. Louis guy. He's on the ballot. You know, I understand.
Maybe
he'll be back up.
Now, did you get a chance to meet Albert Pujols?
Yes, I did. Well, a couple times today. What an outstanding guy, and plus, not only a great player, but also a great citizen. Helps in the community in so many ways.
Jay Nixon is with us, the Missouri governor, and that's slapped out of play by the 8th place hitter, Luis Castillo. Give us an idea from your team of what the economic impact could be here in St. Louis for the All-Star game coming to town.
Well, all in $60 million. I mean, when you talk about the hotel rooms, the restaurants, all of the things around here, but it also gives us a chance to show off to the world. 200 different countries will be looking at this all across the world. It's a chance for us to use this as a jumpstart to the economy here in St. Louis.
And how do you try to jumpstart things here in town?
A couple things. First of all, we took about $500,000 of our tourism budget to advertise to get people to come early and stay late. And then we also then are going to use our economic development team as folks come in. We'll be matching them up to tour the things that are here in St. Louis. So we'll do the tourism piece, plus we'll do the economic development side. All of that will put St. Louis and Missouri in the best light and help us get moving again in this state.
3 balls, 1 strike, and Castillo looks at ball 4. Well, I know you've never done this thing about talking up in a booth, you know, and visiting with me, so I know you're really nervous, but I guarantee you are very nervous about this. We have the telestrator. You're not at the pitching rubber, Governor, and I mean, you got to go to the pitching rubber to throw out that first pitch.
Well, I didn't have the lamp black on either, and you know, I had a Hall of Famer catching it, so I figured I was pretty safe. I got on the mound. I was up on the mound.
That wasn't bad. I give you that.
The mound looked pretty clean. I didn't want to mess it up. And Nero needed all the help he could get tonight.
You know, and I was watching you, and you had a chance to visit briefly with Ozzie Smith. What was that like?
I said, I'm going to keep it high. It's not going to go low. You're going to be safe.
So he was giving you words of encouragement.
You could call it that, although he was jawing a little bit too. I mean, it was not, you know, nobody's really cheering for the old politician to throw a great strike there, you know.
Pinheiro makes the play on the sacrifice. At least you can have a little fun about it. That's good.
It's a tremendous amount of fun. It really, really was. And, you know, I used to pitch a little bit, so I mean, it's not like I haven't ever thrown a ball before. So
no.
It was a lot of fun.
I thought you had nice extension back, and, you know, you got your legs into it. You had a little Tom Seaver going here with the Mets here, you know, so you had the legs going. That was good.
I threw the deuce, not the straight one.
Here is Jose Reyes. You know, to have the All-Star game come to St. Louis is just huge, obviously, as we've talked about, for the city of St. Louis. But what does it mean outside of this community of St. Louis and really statewide? What's it mean for the folks that are just outside of St. Louis?
Well, you got to visualize 200 countries looking at St. Louis all across instantaneously, and the opportunities to highlight things like, you know, WashU, the Danforth Plant Center, Monsanto, the Land Life and Plant Science, all of the great assets we have here. It's a real opportunity for us to paint a picture of the world that helps us transform not only downtown but this economy as we move forward.
What do you tell people that aren't from here that are coming to St. Louis? What do you tell them to go do?
Well, I obviously the zoo, the art museum, we like the science center. Obviously, you got to come to Busch Stadium. That's the first place you stop. So the bottom line is that we have a whole corridor. You know, you've got the Botanical Garden, which you know, the same person that designed that house designed the Governor's Mansion. So you have this history corridor here that's also important. But the people, really, I mean, Missourians are hardworking, straight-shooting people. That's the key thing to sell here.
I think a lot of fans are curious about what people outside the state think of the state of Missouri. What do you hear about it?
Well, first of all, you know my theory is the farther you get from saltwater, the nicer the people get. Right here in the middle of the country is where the nicest people in the world are. I mean, people are friendly to you. They work hard. I think the one thing we're famous for is work. People that have great values, that work hard, that are prepared to help other people too. I mean, this is a state in which you don't see people by the side of the road very often because people stop and help them. You don't see people in need as much because we reach out and help, and that's why Cardinal Care stepping up today, Major League Baseball helping us. All of that is a good example of how Missouri's mainstream Midwestern values are going to be really on show this year for the world.
2-2 is the count on the leadoff man, Jose Reyes. Here in the third, pitch in the dirt. Now, how much trouble are you going to get? Don't play politician. Just play average Joe. Okay, your family and friends are watching this tonight, and they see that replay of your first pitch. How much trouble are you going to get for that?
Well, I got text by my son from school said,
you get text messages already.
Why did, you know, Ozzie have to jump to catch the ball? You know, it was kind of a strike.
Yeah. And that's in the dirt to Reyes. And we are so lucky, of course, to live here in St. Louis and the state of Missouri, the Show Me State. What are you doing for the All-Star game? What are your duties?
We'll be down here most of the 3 or 4 days around that. We're bringing companies in. We're hosting some events for folks. I'll be involved in the All-Star game here, trying to bring companies in and people that want to add jobs to highlight St. Louis, doing a lot of tours and a lot of meetings with key players.
And that is past Schumacher, and this game is tied up at 1 apiece on a 2-out base hit. We saw a bunch of those last night from the Mets. And that was Daniel Murphy picking up his 6th RBI of the season to drive in Castillo, the 8th place hitter in the Mets lineup. Here's a look at the replay. And the close attempt by Schumacher and Castillo scoring. Have you visited with the radio side yet?
Yes, I have. I was over there, and it's great to see those guys. What a great history.
Now, you probably grew up listening to Mike Shannon, right, and watching him play?
I watched him play. I was here when they played in 64, 65, 66, 67, and not in this building, but at Busch Stadium. The other thing we got to do in the All-Star game, I got to bring Mike Anderson as part of his contract extension. We've agreed to take care of the coach here pretty well this year. So
here's a ground ball, nice play there by Joe Thurston, and a forced play at second. I'll tell you what, Governor, great to see you. Looking forward to the All-Star game, and thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Dan.
You bet. We're tied up one way. Well, join us for afternoon baseball tomorrow. The Cardinals wrap up their series against the Mets. Coverage starts at noon. Cardinals Live. Cardinals and Mets tomorrow, and we'll be in high definition right here on Fox Sports Midwest. Joel Pinheiro takes a strike from John Maine. We're underway here in the bottom of the 3rd. Pinheiro looking for his first base hit of this 2009 campaign. No balls and 2 strikes here on Pinheiro. Schumacher on deck, and then Colby Rasmus. And Pinheiro will give the catcher, Ramon Castro, a little time to catch his breath after taking that foul tip. No balls, 2 strikes. Here it comes. A little bit high. Pinheiro, as we've seen before, is a very good athlete. Looks at a ball a little bit upstairs, and it's 2-2. Where have you been?
I was running for office.
Talking with Jay Nixon, huh?
Yes, sir.
Nice work.
Jay was
I'm Al Rabowski, candidate. And people start running down the streets, screaming.
I'm going to go for federal office so I can get that pension.
I could just imagine your tax plan.
You would like it.
Pinheiro draws a leadoff walk, and that's how we start the Cardinals half of the 3rd. Nice to visit with the governor as the All-Star game is on its way to St. Louis.
I remember first time I met him, he was lieutenant governor in Marty Hendon's office. Me and Marty were very close.
Here's Schumacher. Walked and scored the only Cardinals run tonight. And he slices that one down the left field line, and it's just foul. Schumacher almost came up with that ground ball up the middle. And again, it was another 2-out hit for the Mets. This is fouled by a couple of feet. You know, Tony La Russa was talking today about when we can get our bullpen fresh like last night, we have a chance to win a lot of games. And that means starters going deeper into games.
Yeah, that still wasn't ideal, as the bullpen had 10 outs to acquire, but they did an outstanding job when they had the 2 days off. But it is imperative you need to get more innings out of your starter.
Schumacher pops it up into shallow left. That's Daniel Murphy under it. Pinheiro back to first, and a look at our Firestone leaderboard. What is it tonight? With Rasmus digging in. On base percentage, the Dodgers at .392. And this is the best teams in all of baseball. Cardinals third at 377. Rasmus up there hacking and fouls it back.
Cardinals are off to a very good offensive start as a team.
You know, overlooked though in that game last night was the bullpen. Kyle McClellan, 2 scoreless innings. Jason Mott, his first major league win. You had Franklin getting the save in those 4 innings. Just 1 hit allowed, no runs, and the bullpen really did the job.
And you know, it's young season. You know, unfortunately, they got off to a slow start with 4 losses and some crucial blown saves, but they'll iron those things out and they'll get things under control.
Great for Mott to get that first win under his belt. And we talked about it in the open. Kyle McClellan, a rough spring, but it has not carried over one bit to the regular season. Kyle has been outstanding. There's a look at Mott, Marty Mason, Perez, McClellan, Jeff Murphy, the bullpen coach, but there's a look at Kyle right there. Great job last night. 2-2 pitch, fouled back.
I think a lot of times people, you know, really almost use it as an excuse. Well, I don't know my role. Your role is to pitch. You know, when called upon. There's Blaine Boyer.
Blaine Boyer, one of those Atlanta pitchers. The Cardinals have had pretty good success recently with those pitchers. Into center field. Hard hit ball again by Rasmus. And now he is 2 for 2. A double and this single. Well, did you know that the Cardinals feature kids pricing for all 81 home games? Kids 15 and under can purchase tickets for as low as $7, cheaper than a trip to the movies. For details on kids pricing, visit STLCardinals.com. So 2 runners on for Albert Pujols. The thing about that, the Atlanta pitchers, Blaine Boyer being the most recent, but Jason Marquis, Ray King, Adam Wainwright, all involved in that trade before 2004.
Led by Wainwright, you know.
He's been great, and Marquis was good.
Sure.
I mean, he fit
they all
a good role in
Ray
that
King.
time.
You know, they had a role with this ball club, and a change of scenery might do the Atlanta.
Pujols, a base hit into left. They'll wave him in. Throw from left field, and save at the plate is Pinheiro. Redbirds back on top. It's 2-1. You ask Jose Oquendo about coaching at third, and he says 99 out of 100 times I will be overly aggressive, and he was there with the pitcher running.
Absolutely, and you got a left fielder that's struggling out there. You know, he plays second base a little bit, and you're going to challenge right there. Even with a good throw, Pinheiro gets underneath the tag. Ball up in the zone, hanging the breaking ball. Second RBI for Pujols, leads the league with 18. You see the outfielder coming in on it, and he kind of reaching. He's lucky that ball didn't elude him. High throw, but you see underneath the tag.
Daniel Murphy, the left fielder. There's a look at Pujols, the left fielder for the Mets. It was his third fielding misplay in left field last night in the first 13 games. That triple sparked a 2-run inning for the Cardinals. He dropped a fly ball at Florida, misplayed a ball against San Diego. Major League Baseball, most RBIs. See the teammates, and here is Duncan, a ground ball hit to second. They'll go to second. That's all they'll get. Run will score, and it adds to the Cardinals' lead, 3-1.
And update that RBI leadership as the Cardinals take it over with teammates. And last year, Pujols and Ludwig led the league as a combined RBIs.
Well, Pujols now with 18, with 2 tonight, and Chris Duncan picks up his 12th. And again, to update it, Ludwig and Pujols at 33 already. Here's Rick Ankiel. Ankiel, a 3-hit night in game 1 of this series. The 8th inning RBI double. And he smokes this one to right, but that'll hang up and be caught by Ryan Church. 3-1 St. Louis after 3. Baseball tonight on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. And by the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots.
Dan, you see our buddy Dan Heron? I think I saw this right. He's now 0-3 with an ERA under 1.9.
Where's the offense? Where is the offense?
Pinero's got 3 runs in this game.
How about, you know, we've talked a little bit about Citi Field. We'll see that a couple of times this year, but the Yankees, the new Yankee Stadium, they can do all the win studies they want and pour as much money as they want into that ballpark, over $1 billion, and yet there are home runs flying out of that ballpark.
They had 20 in the first 4 games.
20.
And 14 of those were to right field.
That's right. Ball is just flying out of there. Here's Delgado. He is 0 for 1. Flew out to center his first time up. The thing about that, you pour that kind of money into that ballpark, you've got everything you could possibly want with modern amenities for the ballpark, and yet there's one problem. You still have to play the game on the field.
Yeah, and just to cheapen home runs, you know, that's not the way to play baseball.
Here's a ground ball. The shift was on, and this is Joe Thurston at the shortstop position, playing third base, and makes the play.
Only infielder on the left side of the infield, and hit right to him.
I wonder if Joe Thurston thinks, you know, these guys are crazy here in St. Louis. I've been with a bunch of different organizations. I've never been at third base and then playing shortstop with these kind of shifts. But Dave Duncan has, what, about 4 or 5 inches of pages worth of notes on individual players, on where to position them, how to you know, play the position, where to pitch them.
I'll bet you didn't question it.
He wants to stick around.
Yes.
And there it is.
And one of those charts for every hitter, and then different colored pencils designating which pitcher, to get an idea of where a guy hits the ball, the tendency, whether he pulls the ball in the infield, how to play the outfield.
Now Tom Mee is our director. He knows don't go too far into those notes and start giving away secrets. There's a base hit for Carlos Beltran, and he's 2 for 2. A tremendous talent, over $100 million contract, and part of that was the postseason of '04 when he was with Houston.
He's 4 for 5 in this series.
Cardinals Live coming up after the game. That will be with Pat Paris and Rick Horton. Before the game, it's Cal Eldred and Pat Paris. Before and after every game, it's Cardinals Live. The one constant, the one and only, Pat Paris. There's Ryan Church. And Church gets underneath this one, and he'll fly out to center. And Keel under it with 2 hands and makes the catch. So Church is 0 for 2, and it brings in Castro. Ramon Castro, a season ago, dealing with hamstring injuries, ankle injuries, dealt with a bad quad, didn't play a lot, and this season off to a rough start. His average down to 143. 2 outs and a runner at first. First pitch at the knees and a strike.
Pinero's pitch count isn't very high, but his ratio is not very good. 23 balls, 24 strikes.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to the Mets catcher in the dirt. Seems to be a bigger crowd tonight. Warmer weather. Blues knocked out of the playoffs, unfortunately.
Congratulate them on a great run down the stretch, getting to the playoffs, and look forward to next year. And I would think with the forecast for tomorrow, this place will be rocking for the 12:40 start.
You would hope so. Cardinals leading 3-1. We're in the fourth. 2 balls, 1 strike. So only 50 pitches, but 25-25. Here's a 2-1. Pulled fair. They say that's a fair ball off the bat of Castro, and Beltran advances to third.
Right over the third base bag, according to the crew chief, Tim McClellan. Old Castro to a single. There are 2 outs, so get a look at this pitch. Set up outside, leaves it on the inner half, just turned on it. Thurston dives for it. It's not where it bounces, it's where it's over the bag, and it appears to be right over the third base bag, so it's a fair ball.
How did the umpire avoid that baseball?
It's a secret, Dan.
No, it's not, Al. You know what? It's called reactions, Al. Come on.
Oh, I didn't know that, so I had to come up with something.
It's not a secret. It's reactions. Here's Castillo, and he looks at a strike. You know, you're just digging up here, Al. I mean,
I thought it was in the secret
every
garden
once in a while, you need to go down there and talk to those guys and say, hey, how did you avoid that ball?
I only talk to them after they get hit, because then they're embarrassed.
You like that?
Sure I do.
Did you like any umpire when you played?
I liked them all.
As Castillo hits it to Thurston. Nice play. Force at second. Takes the hit and RBI away from Luis Castillo. Nice play by Joe Thurston. Molina, Green, and Thurston coming up. 3-1 St. Louis as we move to the bottom of the fourth. Yadier Molina will lead things off, and it's our This Date in Baseball History brought to you by Schnucks at the old Busch Stadium. 2001 Pujols as the first of his 24 career multi-home run games. We had no idea what we were about to see with Albert Pujols. Of course, Al did, because he had done extensive study that year on the minor league system and spring training.
And I concentrated on Peoria.
Pujols, you know, he has said to people, he said to us,
"Gonna quit. One year. I'll give you 1 year. And if I don't make it to the minor leagues,
if I don't make it, I'm done."
I'm sure glad he didn't quit, and it only took him 1 year.
That's the amazing thing. It took him 1 year to get to the big leagues.
And a Bobby Bonilla hamstring pull.
That helped.
Tony was reluctant. All the coaches wanted to take him as part of the 25-man roster.
So did Mark McGuire.
Well, I mean, he had a lot of pressure between his coaches and the core group of players. But you know, Tony was looking after the best interest of a young player. You know, how often do you make that jump and go to Rookie of the Year and just have a phenomenal season and just carry it right on through?
Tony was saying before the game, his quote was, "You'd be hard-pressed to find a better game," end quote, by Yadier Molina, talking about last night.
Well, it had all the elements. You know, he picks off his 26th man at first base since '05. His nearest competitor is 13. So he's got twice as many, and his reputation is the best thrower in the game. You know, you sit there and you talk about his 3 hits. He tags 2 guys out at the plate, how he guides the pitching staff. Just a real leader. I mean, it was a spectacular all-around game.
Stays away from that pitch. 2-2. Molina, over his last 6 games, is now 10 for 23. Came in hitting .348 tonight. On base percentage close to 500. Slugging percentage over 500.
You know, that pitch is in, and Molina's acting like it hit him.
Or was he just brushed back a little bit and didn't like it?
Well, but I mean, I think he's acting like it hit him on the hand.
Didn't look like it, did it?
No.
Takes his time getting back in the box. He's a career .264 hitter.
Now they wonder if Tony and Oquendo are going to try and make sure. Let's take a look at it as the ball's up and in.
May have gotten the jersey there.
He winced,
the right sleeve.
Winced a little bit.
Now they check on Molina. This is no good news for the Cardinals. To look at this.
Starts to stride into it. It's up and in.
Did it hit his hand?
It looks like it changed direction. Look at him. I mean, wincing. The umpire didn't buy it, but you know, pretty good Academy Award if it didn't.
Well, the Mets know all about Yadier Molina. Back in 2006 in the playoffs, he had 19 hits. There's a call, third strike, no argument from Yadier. We'll check on him next inning, make sure he's throwing okay. Brings in Khalil Green. Don't miss Bud Light T-shirt night, Friday, May 15th, 7:15. Milwaukee will be here. First 25,000 fans ages 21 and over receive a Bud Light Cardinals T-shirt. For tickets, head to STLCardinals.com. Pitch up and into Green. John Maine is a guy that can get it, you know, into that low to mid 90s range. He can throw pretty hard.
Had the shoulder surgery last September, and they feel he's healthy. Just trying to get his control. The one thing they've tried to do as a pitching staff is throw more fastballs, and particularly inside.
Here's a 2-0 pitch to the Cardinal shortstop. Popped up. Delgado will give it a look along with the catcher Castro, and it's out of play. Cardinals as a team came in hitting .291.
Scoring a lot of runs.
See right there, how do you teach your kids the game? It's pretty tough. Okay, you
teach them about the concession stand first, right?
You got the cup, you can put it on your head. You got the other two kids on your lap. The other guy's not paying attention. Good luck. And you're trying to watch the game. And then all of a sudden, because you're on TV, your cell phone goes off. The year in review for the St. Louis Blues. They were 10 games above 500, 6th in the Western Conference. At one point out, they were in the bottom of that Western Conference, and they finished in the playoffs. They were swept by Vancouver, but the Blues year in review, you wouldn't believe how many of the players, the Cardinal players, talk about the Blues and then vice versa. Wanted to find out about each other's teams. You just called Bob Plager.
Oh yeah, I called Bob. You know, I'm an expert on hockey when I learned from Bobby and Barkley Plager.
How to hit after the whistle. Or was that Conrad?
No, that was my theory on how to play football. And I translated and taught Conrad how to do that. How to hit, runner a split second, relax after the whistle. Of course, Conrad tackled the defensive man in front of him.
Bobby has.
Then he did it.
You know, Bobby's got a new bar restaurant, Bobby's Plager.
Bobby's Grill.
And now they're going to talk to Maine. Oh, good. Dave Sonnenberg has found the hungo. You know, we don't talk enough about the hungo throughout the regular season. There's that Fu Manchu, Al.
Oh, yeah. It was dark at one time.
Where is it now?
That particular one is is in the drain in Venezuela. I shaved it off in Venezuela from the original one, from my playing days.
You make it so easy to work with you, Al, because now I got to figure out where your mustache is. It's in Venezuela.
Yeah. The bottom some oil rig.
An oil rig?
Yeah, you know, I mean, the sanitary conditions aren't quite the same over there, you know, so it went down the drain, went down, you know, water goes to the weakest point.
Thurston to right, off the base of the wall. That'll get away. Oquendo will wave him in. Here comes Khalil Green, and he'll score. Thurston on his way to third. 4-1. Thurston bails us out.
Oh, yeah. We can stop talking about that nonsense, but he's got 4 doubles, but this gets over the head of Church and then misplays it, allowing it to get by him to turn it into a triple.
It's one of those plays, though, if you're an outfielder, you're not exactly sure how this is going to come off the wall. It came off the base of the wall, which is a little bit harder than the rest of it, and it took that sharp bounce.
Well, down at the bottom, it's concrete. Right above there, it's padded. And so it didn't hit the padding, which would have dropped it. You can see down below the green padding is that's concrete. It hit off of that and carried by him.
But again, you have to be ready for anything out there.
Sure. And I mean, you got to get ready for that carom.
Here's Pinheiro with 1 out. And the infield drawn in by the Mets here in the 4th. 4-1 St. Louis.
Playing for the carom, then it goes right off the bottom of it, hits hard and scoots on by him.
And the first pitch is a strike. With Tony La Russa, you never know what might be up his sleeve here. Squeeze, hit and run. Pinheiro, broken bat, slowly hit to short. Reyes makes the play, and Thurston will stay put at third. And it's up to Skip Schumacher. Schumacher has walked and scored back in the first run of this game. And he's also flied out to left. For the Mets, John Mayne's spot is due up first in the 5th. And then they'll have the top of the lineup. Schumacher takes a ball in. Wild pitch. Pass ball. Cardinals will take anything to get a 5-1 lead, including a home run. Schumacher still looking for that first of the season. Line drive up the middle. It's a 2-out base hit for Skip Schumacher. Thurston scores to make it 5-1. His 5th RBI and first base hit of the night.
Been on base 2 out of 3 times. He scored a run. So he led off with a walk, and here he just muscles this one over the infield. See Mayne think he makes a pretty good pitch and then doesn't get rewarded with it. As Schumacher bloops it in front of Beltran, and the Cardinals do have the 4-run lead.
Here's Rasmus, who is 2 for 2. Colby looking for his first home run in the major leagues. Wearing a shin guard on that front leg.
That may be something that Tal McRae would hope would come a little bit later. Convince him to just be a line drive contact hitter. Sometimes you hit a home run and then all of a sudden you get excited about that and you start swinging for the fences and you lose your line drive stroke.
Well, he's 2 for 2. He came in hitting .235 and his average has jumped up to .278. 2 balls and 1 strike.
81 pitches. Still trying to get through the 4th inning.
Ooh, there was a pitch to hit right there. 2-2.
92 miles an hour, but just enough inside to tie him up a bit.
On deck, it's Pujols, so one of the best spots in this Cardinal lineup occupied tonight by Colby Rasmus. And you will see pitches to hit.
Right, and you know, it's a 2-2 count, so you're getting deeper in that count. More chance you're going to see a mistake by the pitcher.
2-2 to Colby. Fouled back and a good cut. Talking with John Mozeliak, they feel that Colby Rasmus eventually will be a guy that does hit home runs. But right now, as you mentioned, Al, just looking for line drives, and if you happen to walk into one and hit a home run, that's all the better. 2-2. Opposite field, pretty well hit. That'll stay in the ballpark. Backing up, Daniel Murphy. Cardinals add to their lead with 2 here in the bottom of the 4th. It's 5-1 St. Louis.
Let's take a look at our Aflac trivia question tonight. Who is the Cards' all-time save leader against lefties?
Al, it was perfect for you to introduce this because Apparently it's not you. I'm sorry, Al. You're second.
Well,
you okay with that?
There goes Vern Rapp.
And for people at home that don't know the story of you and Vern Rapp.
Well, you thought I was getting in trouble in Venezuela. I can get in trouble right here.
I didn't know where you were going with the oil rigs. That was my concern.
I was just waiting for Thurston to do something.
Here's a ground ball slowly hit to Thurston. Right on cue again. John Maine retired for the first out here in the 5th.
Now Pinheiro, we talked about his pitch count. 55 now, as he's gone 4 1/3 innings, and Maine was, up into the high 80s through 4.
Did you think, though, that Jerry Manuel might think about pinch hitting for John Maine at this point? But again, trying to extend his starting staff to take the burden off his bullpen, I'm assuming.
That's right. That bullpen has been, very good for him. They were #1 in the league before last night. And I think, you still sit there. You got to stretch these guys out. You haven't got to 100 pitches yet, so you try and get at least another inning out of him and don't overwork your bullpen.
Here's Jose Reyes. Fly ball out to shallow left. Duncan over. Sliding catch. Nicely done. Chris Duncan with the catch, and there's 2 away.
Remember, that ball's going to continue to slice away from him. He knows that wall is creeping in on him on the warning track, so he slides. And this way, he can't run into that wall or hurt himself because he's going to do it feet first, and he'll prepare himself.
That's the Hot Shots Exmo Cam. Remember the location, 1 block from the ballpark on Broadway, south from Busch Stadium.
And that is, a very nice play by Chris Duncan. Made a couple here tonight.
His first was back in the 1st on Daniel Murphy. That pitch misses inside, and here's Murphy right here. You wonder about Murphy and how much his fielding miscues would carry over to his offense, but yet this is a guy that sees a ton of pitches, and that's one of the reasons that the Mets really like him. He sees an average of at least 4 pitches per at bat, which at this day and age is a lot. Makes that pitcher work, and he'll ground out here to Schumacher. Over to Albert, and a 1-2-3 inning for Pinheiro. Albert is due up first when we come back. 5-1 St. Louis, and the Cardinals half of the 5th. And let's take a look at the defense for St. Louis. Joe Thurston backing up on David Wright with a forced play at second. This was a tremendous play by Thurston. Diving at third, takes a hit away and an RBI away from Castillo. Here's Albert Pujols. Pujols out to deep left field to the track, and it will be caught by Daniel Murphy. Pujols with 2 RBIs already tonight. So 1 out on the first pitch here in the bottom of the 5th. Tony Angelis follows this baseball into the glove of Daniel Murphy.
Now that's an art, isn't it? Anytime Albert launches a ball like that, everybody gets excited. Murphy got excited, but he got to the middle of the warning track, looked up, and caught it dead in his tracks.
Here is Duncan at the knees and a strike. Sure, Jerry Manuel is looking at a quick, efficient inning right now from Maine to keep him in this ball game and take away that burden from the bullpen. 86 already for Maine and 61 for Pinheiro, the pitch count. Duncan with an RBI tonight, trying to extend his hitting streak. And he pops it up. That's a major league pop-up right there. On the infield, Castillo puts it away. Let's take a look at Duncan's night defensively. We talk about his offense, but the defense tonight, that was early in the 1st. And then last inning, this sliding catch.
Pretty play.
5-1 Cardinals here in the 5th. This is Ricky Ankiel. Ankiel is struck out and also flied out to right. 0 for 2. 1 ball, 1 strike. John Mozeliak was telling us that the Cardinals are going to hit. This will be a good offensive team, and the heart of the Cardinals batting order has combined for 25 extra base hits coming into play tonight. Now, much of that is due to Albert Pujols. On the ground to second, good play, spinning Castillo, and the Cardinals go in order. The middle of the lineup coming up for the Mets. Cardinals lead it. It's 5-1.
You're watching Fox Sports Midwest in HD.
Top of the 6th rolls in here at Busch Stadium, and you can bring the entire family to Major League Baseball's All-Star Fan Fest, July 10th through the 14th at America Center right here in downtown St. Louis. Tickets are available at allstargame.com or by calling 888-FANFEST. All attractions are included with the price of admission. It's Tommy right there. Don Lucy, Mike Helling, and the rest of our crew in the truck. Any early candidates for the Hungo Award?
Yes. But I'll keep that to myself.
Go ahead and just let it all out, Al. Here's a fly ball into right center. Should stay in the ballpark. Rasmus is there on the track.
How about Molina's game? How about Pinheiro, the way he's pitching here tonight?
Colby Rasmus has admittedly said he's a work in progress, either left or right field.
Yeah, he's natural center fielder, and the ball comes off the bat at different angles. Still trying to get used to that. But you see him tracking this one, go backpedaling. Feels a change of surface underneath his feet. Knew when he left the grass to the warning track, and hauls it in.
Here's Delgado, and Delgado with 1 out is 0 for 2. He's flied to center, also grounded out to third. First pitch catches the outside corner. Now you get that strike call. You see Delgado doesn't like it, but if you've been around the plate all night, you get that.
That's right. Umpire will eventually, say, hey, this guy's throwing strikes, which still not the best ratio. It's improved, but his pitch count is low.
Took something off that pitch. He's out in front. 2 strikes on Carlos Delgado.
Third time through the order, kind of the test for a starter. Can he still have something in his repertoire to fool the hitter? Ted Barrett, our home plate umpire tonight.
0-2, a ground ball. The shift was on again, and it pays off. Thurston there at the shortstop position. He's the third baseman tonight, folks. And again, he puts him away. 3 guys on the right side of the infield, and Joe Thurston left all by his lonesome there on the shortstop side of the bag.
Pitch him away, hits him away, and Thurston right there at shortstop. The third baseman playing shortstop with that shift. The only infielder on the left side of the infield. Guy's got to learn how to get Beltran now.
Beltran is 2 for 2. Popped up. Thurston, foul territory, has a play. He's got it. Midway through 6. Pinheiro and the Cardinals rolling. It's 5-1. Nice round of applause for Yadier Molina. He'll lead it off for the Cardinals, and we have our Bud Light What's on Tap. The difference is drinkability. Cal Loge, Levan Hernandez tomorrow. And we are on the air at noon here on Fox Sports Midwest. Looking forward to that. Levan Hernandez, Cal Loge, up the middle and a base hit. Molina starts out the Cardinals half of the 6th with a base hit. And swinging a hot bat. Well, for the first time, I believe, this regular season. Let's check in with our Jim Hayes. Jim.
Dan, I was with you guys for a couple of games, and then I went on the Blues beat for a while. But I've been at some Cardinal games.
Okay, Jim, what do you have for us?
Say what?
What do you have for us, Jim?
Well, I don't know if you can get a shot in the upper tier of the press box, but we got our own Rick Horton and Cal Eldred and Mike Matheny's up there. And Pat Paris and I feel like third wheels because our teammates, Cal and Rick, who were so friendly to us normally, aren't really paying any attention to us because we got Matheny up there.
By the way, that's Rob Raines, I believe, up there as well, who has written the latest book on Tony La Russa.
Right.
Here's a 1-1 pitch.
Ooh. Molina had that look about him, wanted to steal again.
So, Jim, tell us about the Blues beat. Obviously, must have been a somber locker room yesterday.
Cal's trying to make amends. He gave me some. You know what? I don't even want it, Cal. Go back to your player buddy, Mike Matheny. You know what? I believe that that team has nothing to be upset about. They shocked a lot of people by having that amazing run getting into the postseason. But I get the feeling from the players that they just felt like they didn't have the kind of showing they felt like they could have.
2-2, the count on Khalil Green. I assume, Jim, you'll be with our star of the game coming up after the ball game, right?
Got a lot of good choices, Dan. I'm right now discussing it with Pat Paris, crunching some numbers, seeing who we want to get.
Well, here's a look at Joe Thurston. I know you had a chance to visit with Joe during spring training. What did you take away?
There's a guy who just wants an opportunity, and you look at what he's done. Same thing with Brian Barton. Two guys who have gotten opportunities and really made the most of it. You can't complain with anything they're doing, not only offensively, but defensively as well. Barton had a great Thurston had a great play earlier in the game.
Yeah, you had a chance to visit in a very nice interview with Brian Barton on the pregame show. Jim, anything that our fans that didn't see the pregame that you took away from that interview in the pregame that you can relate to them now?
Well, he's flirting with 400, and I asked if that was the goal to hit 400 for the season. He said no. But, we've talked with him in the past about a guy who has a reputation for being a good glove man. He is that. But offensively, in the minor leagues, he's posted some good offensive numbers as well. He's had 15 home runs in the minors, 16 home runs in the minors, so he can do it as well.
Yeah, interesting story too, Jim, because Brian Barton is an Oregon State product, and he always felt, at least a couple of years ago, that he probably should have been an everyday player. Then he had to adjust at the time when the Cardinals picked him up, and Thurston now pops this one up. Foul territory. Castro makes the catch. At that time, the Cardinals were really concerned about the health of Scott Rowland, and they picked him up off of waivers. I'm not sure, Jim, that a lot of people expected Brian Barton to play the kind of defense that he has, because he was more of an insurance policy for the Cardinals at that time.
When they got him, he was a third baseman. He said that the Arizona organization wanted him to be more of a power hitter, which wasn't really the kind of offensive player he felt he was. Came to the Cardinals, gave him a little insurance at third base. Last year, primarily a shortstop. Played some second base as well, and played defensively very well at both positions, and hit 285.
Did the Cardinals welcome you back, Jim, even though you left for a while to go do the Blues beat?
Well, you mentioned it earlier in the broadcast. A lot of the players were following the Blues playoff run as well, so they knew what I was doing, yeah, and they did welcome me back. And even Al gave me a little hug today. That felt good.
That must have felt good. Thank you, Jim. We'll see you at either later this game or on the post game.
You got it.
All right, that's Jim Hayes. Good to see him back with us.
Oh, yes.
Where he belongs, Al.
That is true.
That's a swing and a miss by Pinheiro. Good stuff from Jim. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs, and a runner at first, and the Cardinals leading 5-1 here in the 6th. Always fun to visit with Jim Hayes.
Activity in the Mets bullpen as Maine's pitch count is over 100.
Try to get him through this inning right here, and
Stokes.
There's a right-hander, and Fossum. Lefty is getting loose.
The two we saw early in yesterday's ball game.
So Fossum 4 straight to Thurston, I believe. Walk him, and there's a base hit for Pinheiro to extend the inning. So you might get into this bullpen right now. By the way, good to see Mike Matheny here at the ballpark.
Absolutely.
And I talked to Mike over the weekend, and for fans that are wondering about his health, and there's a look at Mike visiting with Rob Raines. He feels great. You know, Mike said all the post-concussion syndrome dealings that he had after the game was done for him is through. And He feels he has so much to offer to young players. And remember, Tony La Russa had him as an instructor in spring training, and he was telling me that he really enjoyed that. And I asked him, I said, do you think it was because of the foul tips that was part of it? And he said, no, not at all. And he's been actually an innovator with Major League Baseball in trying to find out a reason why catchers get what he dealt with, which was a severe case of post-concussion syndrome, and he felt it was the collisions.
The collisions.
Yep.
Okay.
And he's working with young players. He's working with Major League Baseball. He has 5 kids. He's living here in St. Louis, and Mike said, you know, this was the right place for him. And when he came to St. Louis, it was the perfect time for him because they needed a guy that could handle a pitching staff and just worry about defense. And he is held in such high regard as a true professional here in town, as a player and as a person.
Yeah, I mean, he could go to any organization.
He was such a good catcher defensively, blocking the baseball, throwing people out, working with Yadier Molina. You probably wouldn't see him do that.
Nope. Every time you see Molina make a great block, you could trace it back to Matheny, and then you take it what they were taught by Dave Ricketts, Cardinals' long-time catching instructor that worked with so many people and unfortunately passed away this offseason.
And that is ball 4 to Schumacher. So good to see Mike Matheny here at the ballpark. Bases loaded, and Jerry Manuel will go to his bullpen. Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service. Go online to StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. Fossum, the lefty, coming in. It's our Chevy called to the bullpen. He'll face Colby Rasmus when we come back, and the Cardinals leading 5-1. Baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by McDonald's. Come into McDonald's today and get any large soft drink or sweet tea for just $1. And by Chrysler. Employee pricing plus. It's in its final month at your Chrysler and Jeep dealer. Hurry, offer ends April 30th. Pinch hitter is Ryan Ludwig. First pitch is fouled back, so he will pinch hit now for Colby Rasmus. You match up the righty-lefty here.
And Ludwig coming off the bench, that's a pretty valuable hitter. And Fossum, who made his Mets debut last night, he was just recalled on Monday. Started a couple games, had an ERA under 1 at AAA.
We saw him with a bases loaded walk on 4 pitches. Ludwig, a high pop up into shallow right, backing up the second baseman to make the catch, and that's Castillo. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Ryan Ludwig, after his pinch hitting appearance, stays in the ball game, and here is Joel Pinheiro pitching in now to the top of the 7th. Ryan Church will lead it off for the Mets. Pinheiro has been efficient tonight. What has it been that you've seen from Pinheiro that's made him successful tonight?
Well, remember, first about 60 pitches, he was 30-30 in balls and strikes, but you know, he's thrown enough strikes. He's gotten hitters to get them, you know, to hit the ball on the field, utilizes defense. Scattered 5 hits. He's retired 9 in a row, 10 in a row.
Here's another ground ball, and then Schumacher over to Pujols for the first out.
Get those ground balls, and you know, you let your defense do the work for you.
You've seen that sinker, and that has been a key tonight, without question, here for Pinheiro. Here's Ramon Castro.
8 in a row.
1 for 2 with a single. That single was back in the 4th, and the first pitch taken a little bit upstairs.
That was the last hit off of Pinheiro. Castro's base hit.
Pittsburgh over Florida 7-4. Arizona beat Colorado 2-0. That's at the knees and a strike. San Francisco beat San Diego 1-0. Milwaukee and Philly just underway, as well as Atlanta and Washington. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Ground ball, backhanded. Oh, what a play. Green fires to first. He got him. Outstanding play from Khalil Green.
And Castro running, that helped out, but there's no denying it was an outstanding backhand play. Spin, this ball was hit well. Slider hooked in there on the outfield grass. Had time to set himself and make the strong throw across. That's pretty. Ozzie would appreciate that. Ozzie at the game today, taking in the announcement of the All-Star festivities.
And now it's Castillo who's in the 8th place in this lineup. Interesting that Jerry Manuel uses him in this spot in the lineup. A guy with good speed. We've seen him primarily in his career either be 1 or 2. And in many ways, Al, it's a secondary leadoff man.
Yeah, that's how Florida Marlins use Juan Pierre and Castillo behind him. And I think because Reyes gets so many extra base hits, sometimes they just don't want to just, have somebody drive him in. There's Sheffield. He's ready to pinch hit.
Fresh off of home run number 500 for Sheffield this past week. Here's a 1-2. Check swing. Green has to be quick to first, and he is. Pinheiro is through 7 with a little help from Khalil Green. 5-1 Cardinals. Corey Spinks is here with the Infinity game recap.
And that was the Bull, Lattimore. They're going to be fighting Friday night.
Defense has been a story tonight for the Cardinals. Colby Rasmus, a couple of base hits. You know about Albert. Joe Thurston and Skip Schumacher. And here's Pujols to lead it off for the Cardinals against Casey Fossum. 5-1 St. Louis.
I think Albert just wanted to get a look at what that breaking ball looked like. Watch out for the next one.
The 29-year-old Albert Pujols. 13th round selection, 402nd overall out of the Dominican Republic. And a base hit. Base hit for Pujols to start the 7th. Most starts as a catcher since 2000. Mike Matheny with 561. Molina, Marrero, Bennett, and DeFelice on that graphic.
Tiotti's started opening day for the last 5 years. First time somebody's done that since Darryl Porter.
I want to go back to what we were talking about, though, with Mike Matheny. The fact was you had, I believe at the time, McGuire, but you certainly had Edmonds. Roland then would be in the mix. You had Renteria. You had Vigna for a while. That's a line shot.
How does Albert not get picked off on that?
I don't know.
Or doubled off.
You think about when Matheny arrived in town, he was the perfect guy at that time for Tony La Russa. I asked him about being mentioned in Tony's book about his family life, and Mike's certainly a family man. And Tony had mentioned, and there's a stolen base for Pujols. In a way, he was almost envious of Mike and what he has done away from baseball. Tony, of course, has dedicated much of his life to this game.
Tony has a unusual marital situation, but one that they've dealt with for many, many years. That during baseball season, it's all business. He's away from the family.
That's out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And then he makes up as much time as possible in the offseason.
We talked about Mike holding hands with his wife, and Mike then told me that he and Tony La Russa had so many conversations away from baseball and in the personal aspect of things and really got to know Tony and appreciates what he means.
Well, I've always said
to
that
this franchise and to a guy like Mike Matheny, what he meant to his career.
Well, but you look at those two guys right there. They are so tough on catchers. They demand so much from the catchers, and they get it from Molina. But it was the same token when Mike Matheny was here. It was an extension of Tony's pitching staff and coaching staff. Mike Matheny got him those pitchers.
How loaded, though, when you go back now in retrospect, how loaded were those teams? They were outstanding teams that Tony and at that time Walt Jocketty had assembled here in St. Louis. Outstanding teams.
Well, 04, they win 105 games.
Well, even before that, 2001 and 02, they went to postseason play. 03, they were mathematically alive. 04, go to the World Series. 05, advance. 06, win. Let's go pitch by pitch here. The lefty on Rick Ankiel, brought to you by Chevrolet.
Albert just stole that off the pitcher. A couple breaking balls. Their fastball there. He doesn't time it. Now they're sweeping breaking ball and finishes him off with one outside. There could be a double switch. Stokes was warming up earlier, and it looks like he will come in, and we'll see what Castillo is kind of wondering where he's going. He's coming off the field as Jerry Manuel will make the pitching change and double switch.
So a righty coming in to face Yadier Molina. Molina with a base hit back in the 6th inning. That's it for Castillo as well. The double switch.
So Cora goes
called to the bullpen, and here he comes. Brought to you by Chevrolet. All the changes coming up when we come back. Cardinals lead it 5-1, 2 outs here at the bottom of the 7th. Here's Molina with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position. Stokes is the new pitcher for the Mets, part of the double switch. Alex Cora is in the ball game, and he'll be tested right away. He's at second, and he'll lead it off when we move to the top of the 8th. One pitch, just like that. Mets out of the jam. Wake up. Whoa. Come on now. Wake up. Pretty good game going on right now. It's 5-1. 5-1 Cardinals as we move to the top of the 8th here in St. Louis. And some changes for the Cardinals. Brian Barton takes over third base. Joe Thurston moves from third to second, and Skip Schumacher takes over in left. And it's been an economical night here for number 35, Joel Pinheiro.
He's retired 10 in a row, and he's thrown 77 pitches through 7 innings. So very good ratio and gone deeper than any Cardinal starter today.
Alex Cora will lead it off.
Obviously today.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That's today. He's been the only one we have seen, but still under 80 pitches for the ball game. And here is Cora, part of that double switch. We'll see Cora, Reyes, and Daniel Murphy for the Mets here in the top of the 8th. 5-1 St. Louis. 1-0 pitch. A little bit low, 2 balls, no strikes. We've seen him fall behind, but yet then he'll get a ground ball, and next guy up, ground ball, and all of a sudden it's a quick inning.
And Cora wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of work the count a little bit, get that pitch count up there.
Talked about the bullpens being a story in this series. And at the start of this series, the Mets a 1.98 ERA in their bullpen. The Cardinals were able to get to that bullpen last night. St. Louis a 4.98 bullpen ERA at the start of this series, and they were the difference in game 1. Little chopper slowly hit. Pinheiro with it to Albert for the first out.
Very good fielding pitcher is Pinheiro, and he helped himself there.
Let's say hello to the Hallsville High School seniors from Hallsville, Missouri, at the game on their senior trip. Livan Hernandez will get the start tomorrow for the Mets, as Mott, fresh off his first win in the major leagues, getting loose in the bullpen for St. Louis.
And a strike to Reyes on the outside corner. Not a lot has been left over the middle of the plate. And again, Mott off his first major league win yesterday.
The way Pinero's throwing, he's not going to let Mott come in this game.
Here's a ground ball hit to second. Thurston puts him away. 2 outs.
Wouldn't be the worst thing. Try and get him the next 4 outs. Keep that pitch count under 100.
And it brings in Murphy with 2 outs and nobody on here in the 8th. Five to 1 Cardinals. Cardinals with a run in the first, 2 in the third, and 2 in the fourth. The Mets picked up their run in the third. Base hit up the middle, and that's been it against Pinheiro. Just 5 base hits tonight against Joel. And that's a strike. Not to make excuses, but in his last start, it just seemed like the strike zone was pretty tight in Arizona. Wasn't getting a lot of calls. That's hit to short. Easy play. Bottom of the 8th, rolling in. Cardinals lead it 5-1.
Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light. With just the right taste that never fills you up, the difference is drinkability. By Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by your St. Louis Hyundai dealers. Always a home run with America's best warranty, and now Hyundai Insurance. Well, Joel Pinheiro has retired the last 13 in a row, and his teammates have provided him 5 runs of support. There is activity in the Cardinal bullpen, so we'll have to wait and see. Leo Green 0 for 1 tonight. He has 2 walks. That gives him 5 walks in the first 2 games of this series. Brian Stokes, who got the final out last inning, his second inning of work, and a slider off the plate. Stokes hasn't allowed a run this year yet. And Cardinals made the most out of their 8 hits, Dan.
No doubt.
A lot of walks, just like last night from the starter.
So it's a 5-1 game here in the 8th. And the story of this night, no doubt, has been Pinheiro. Pitched very well. Green will bounce to second for the first out on a 2-2 pitch, and there's 1 away.
Well, there's Big Dog, and I appreciate Big Dog. Called me last night and reluctantly asked permission to miss the assignment of baseball so he could work the Blues contest. And
is that true?
Yeah, I mean he is unbelievable in his thoughtfulness. But you know, I mean, everybody in the crew except for Tim Garcia called to get permission to miss baseball and do hockey. I mean, Tim, who works up here, assists us all the time. We only have nice things to say about Mr. Garcia.
He's so efficient.
Efficient. He didn't call us though, and everyone else did. Big Dog, glad to have you back.
Tim is so efficient that he handed us Game 5 notes for the Blues.
And he said, "What's wrong with that?"
He didn't know. It's okay. 1-1 is swung on and missed by Thurston. 1-2.
Is that Blaine Boyer warming up in the Cardinal pen?
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yes, it is. The newest Cardinal.
In the dirt, 2-2.
Saw a little different motion down there, so we figured it had to be Boyer, who joined the club yesterday through a bullpen session. And they think he's going to be helpful down there. Power arm, just need a change of scenery.
He would seem to be the right kind of fit for Dave Duncan. Remember a guy named Todd Wellemeyer. Power arm, mid-90s, and needed maybe a little guidance, needed a job. and a change of scenery, and that helped him.
And Boyer throws in the low 90s. He has a very good curveball. Just got off to a horrendous start where Wellemeyer was released 2 or 3 times and went from the banished from the Kansas City bullpen into the Cardinals rotation a couple years ago, and that transformation has been very smooth.
3-2 the count. 5-1 Cardinals. Thurston at the plate. We're in the 8th.
Anyways, you'd like to see Pinheiro get a shot at the 9th inning, but it also is a good time to see Boyer get some work.
Maybe at this time, though, Al, and that's hit on the button at second base. This early in the season, you really do pay attention to those pitch counts.
Well, he's going to hit for himself, but just because he's 1 for 2 of the night and also a walk.
6 is a serious number when the Cardinals score 6 runs. Get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for only $0.25 the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Crowd of 35,622 here tonight. And a line out to center. We head to the 9th, and it's 5-1 Cardinals.
Back at Busch Stadium, Cardinals lead 5-1 as we head to the 9th. Coming up after the game on the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, we'll have Cardinal player reaction, including reaction from Joel Pinheiro on tonight's effort. Which Cardinals, aside from Albert Pujols, will make the All-Star team, and we'll have Tony La Russa's post-game news conference as well. It's all coming up after the game with Rick Horton and Pat Paris. For now, we send it back to Dan and Al, guys.
Okay, Jim, looking forward to that as Joel Pinheiro tries to finish off this game. It's now 5-1 St. Louis. And his pitch count has been very good and one of the best starts of the season, undoubtedly.
He's retired the last 13 Mets batters.
What have you seen, Al? What's it been with Pinheiro here tonight?
Well, like I said, it was a little weird because the first 60 pitches, about 30 of them were balls, 30 were strikes, but he was getting ground ball outs. When he fell behind the count, he battled back and retired the hitter. He did walk 2, and those both came in the 3rd inning when they scored their lone run. But he's been very competitive. He's battled. And that sinker has become a more dominant pitch for him.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. A little bit low. Special happy birthday to Don Barker, huge Cardinals fan, watching tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. The 2-1 pitch to David Wright. Here it comes. Up and in. 3-1. Last thing you want to do is walk anybody in this situation.
Yeah, they've got Dennis Reyes and Franklin up in case this inning gets out of control. It is early. Give him a chance to complete it, but one base runner and he might be out of there.
And Wright lines it fair down the third base line into the corner. David Wright on base with a double. Schumacher, who has moved from second to third, gets it back into the infield. Well, he didn't walk him. He made him earn his way on, and he picks up a leadoff double.
And ball just kind of running in. We talked about how he's really opened up and trying to pull the ball, and he keeps it fair. And that's it for Pinheiro.
So leadoff double. Our Budweiser, great player of the game. Budweiser, the great American lager. And that will be Joel Pinheiro. Listen to the crowd for Joel. .91 pitches. That's it tonight for Joel Pinheiro as he pitches into the 9th inning. And now he'll turn it over to Dennis Reyes, the 32-year-old for the Cardinals. Saw him pitch last night. Pitched a third of an inning and allowed a walk. Numbers on Dennis: 7 games, a record of 0-1, and an ERA of 3.86. He gets Carlos Delgado here. Delgado is 0 for 3, couple of ground outs to third with the shift on, but with a runner at second, Al, they change up the defense because they're trying to keep that runner close at second.
And also they have the left-handed pitcher on the mound, but primarily, as you said, the runner at second.
Rolls over on this one to Thurston. Let's take a look at our Hardy's prime cut of the game concerning number 5. First of many talking about the Hardy's prime cut and Albert Pujols. Seems like every night we turn to Cardinals first baseman for our Hardy's prime cut.
It's hard not to go a game without you seeing some massive swing and level contact. The switch hitter Beltran turned around. He's 2 for 5 from the right side of the plate this year with 1 home run.
So Beltran, a couple of base hits, and he hits a rope down the left field line. This is 3rd hit of the night. That will go to the wall, and he's in with a double. That cuts the lead to 5-2. That run charged to Pinheiro.
Lena set up away, and that ball is on the inner part of the plate. Just drops the bat head and hits a rocket into left field.
Did he ever? Just jumped off his bat. Now you bring up Ryan Church. Runner at second, 1 out. Cardinals do have a right-hander getting loose in the pen.
Ryan Franklin picked up his 3rd save last night.
Closes the book, by the way, on Pinheiro. This is popped up. Shallow left. Schumacher under it, makes the catch. Out number 2. 1 out away from winning this series and a chance at a sweep tomorrow. That's going to be it, as Tony La Russa will go to the bullpen. And Ryan Franklin will come in and try to close this game out for St. Louis. Five to 2 Cardinals. 2 outs here in the ninth. Ryan Franklin in for the Cardinals to try to get that final out, as the Cardinals lead it by the score of 5-2. The 36-year-old has made, prior to tonight, 5 appearances, and in 3 of those 5, that's resulted in saves. He is 3 for 3 in save opportunities.
And this is another save opportunity. As you run on base, the hitter and the on deck hitter would tie it up. So 1 out to get, and he could pick up his 4th save, and he's going to have to go through Sheffield, who you mentioned hit his 500th home run, the 25th player to have 500 home runs, and he's the very first that did it as a pinch hitter, and only his 2nd pinch hit home run of his career.
There are a few closers that have not allowed an earned run yet, and I guess you can classify Franklin as the closer right now for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
It's not Perez, it's not Mott. Swing and a miss by Sheffield. 3 or more saves are on this list, and that includes Ryan Franklin. Closers with no earned runs allowed with 3 or more saves.
You don't see Brad Lidge. He's blown a save already this year after not blowing any all year long a year ago for the world champions.
And the fans in Philly gave him a standing
ovation.
How about that?
That's a rarity. He gave up, what, about lead? 3 runs or something?
Yeah. He's not pitching as well as he did a year ago. Sheffield pops it up. This should do it. A play for Molina. He's got it. Cardinals win it 5-2. Look for the sweep tomorrow. U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is next. Complete post-game wrap-up coming up. 5-2 the final here at Busch Stadium.
Game is over. Cardinal victory, 2 in a row against the Mets. We're just getting started on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Rick, your thoughts about this one?
This is a Mets team that's very good offensively. 7 out of 9 players batting over 300, and Joel Pinheiro shut them down tonight.
More on that coming up. In fact, Joel Pinheiro on the hill tonight. Was the sinker working for him? It certainly was. We'll break down his night and perhaps King of the Hill and his future. Plus, with the All-Star Game ballots released today, we'll tell you which Cardinals will be staying in St. Louis in mid-July. And we'll take you inside the Cardinal clubhouse for player reaction. Bring you Tony La Russa's post-game thoughts as well. Happy Earth Day. Run outside, hug a tree, but come right back for U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
Welcome to U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.
Great defense tonight here at Busch Stadium. Here's an example. Chris Duncan off the bat of Jose Reyes, the great sliding grab. Just one of many outstanding efforts by the Cardinal defense, and a 5-2 victory behind a terrific pitching performance and plenty of offense as well. As you look outside Busch Stadium, we welcome you inside Busch Stadium. It is the post-game edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live with the former left-handed reliever of the Cardinals, Rick Horton. I'm Pat Parrish. We're going to break this one all down. We'll go inside the Cardinal clubhouse for player reaction, bring you Tony La Russa's post-game thoughts as well. And Rick's going to throw out a couple of names who you might see wearing the Cardinal uniform, well, the national uniform, but representing the Cardinals in the All-Star Game come July right here at Busch Stadium. Rick, let's start with your thoughts, though, about a terrifically played ball game and the fact that they've beaten the Mets 2 in a row now, and this is a formidable opponent in the National League.
Really, this whole homestand is a formidable opponent homestand because the Cubs are coming into town next. Cardinals off to a great start, taking the first 2 from the Mets. They're 7-2 at home right now, which I think is an outstanding start, and hopefully that's the way the Cardinals play all season long at home.
Yeah, it'd be a nice way to do it. That kind of winning percentage would be phenomenal. Don't forget, you can get involved in the program as well. It is U.S. Cellular text time. If you got a question or comment for Rick or myself, send it to 432-432. Remember to include your first name, where you're texting from in that message. Standard text messaging rates do apply. Let's get downstairs right now, back on the field at Busch Stadium. Jim Hayes just moments ago going one-on-one with Joel Pinheiro, our Mid-America Chevrolet dealers, player of the game. Jim?
8 solid innings for Joel Pinheiro. I know you wanted to close it out. You looked a little disappointed coming off the hill.
Yeah, you always want to go the whole 9 yards, but I'll take it. It was a good win. I kept the ball down, a lot of ground ball outs. Great defense behind me, which is the big key.
Is that the key, keeping the ball down for you?
Definitely. Keep the ball down, you get a lot of ground balls like I did today, and then outstanding defense behind me, which was the key.
You've had pretty good defense behind you all season long. Is that surprising at all when you have new pieces here and guys splitting time the way this Cardinal team has it, third base and at times second base?
I think, Tony's been doing this in spring training, moving guys in and out, so everybody knows their role, what they need to do late in the game, early in the game, or whatever it is. So just tip your hat to the guys, and Yadi called a great game behind the plate.
Your role is pitching, but you like to chip in a little offensively too, don't you?
I just like to put the bat on the ball, and I got lucky, I found a hole.
Joel, thanks for the time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Joel Pinheiro, let's send it back to you.
Jim, thank you very much. We will break down Joel Pinheiro's efforts tonight and look exactly what he was doing and doing so well a little later on here on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. Right now, time for a view from the booth. Let's go upstairs here at Busch Stadium and bring back in Dan McLaughlin and Al Roboski to let them help us put a wrap on this one, guys.
Okay, Pat, thanks. You heard Joel talk about it in the interview with Jim. The fact was, a lot of ground balls and a lot of good defense behind him.
Good pitching produces those ground balls. Your defense is very sharp because they're expecting it. Thurston playing third base made a couple nice plays over there at the hot corner. This was a real fine play off the bat of Castillo as he goes to his left and gets the force out.
What did you see with Pinheiro here tonight? And Chris Duncan also came up with a couple of fine plays. That was in the first. He had a sliding catch late. And then Khalil Green obviously contributed defensively as well. But what did you see from a pitcher's perspective that made him so good?
Well, he works quick. He throws those ground balls. He didn't have any strikeouts, so the defense was being tested, and they were ready for it. There was no lollygagging around, and you walk 2. They were in the third inning when they scored their first run. But for the most part, he was just getting the ball, being aggressive in the strike zone. And, at the low part of the strike zone, if he missed just off the plate, and he got a lot of ground balls.
Later in the show, Pat, we'll take a look at our day baseball tomorrow here on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's send it back to you.
Al, Rick's got a question.
Yeah, Al, I wanted to ask you, watching Pinheiro pitch tonight, I think a lot of people
Here
wonder.
Here we go. All right, this is Al.
This is for Al. You can leave, Dan, if you want.
Yep. All right.
I think a lot of people.
Nice talking to you, Ricky.
A lot of people. a lot of people ask the question, how come it looks so simple for what Pinheiro did tonight? Because really everything looks so easy, and we of course know that it's not easy. But do you think Pinheiro's maybe at a new level now to where he can kind of maybe do this start after start, maybe effortlessly, and use his defense the way he did tonight?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is his walk year. So a lot of incentive to have a good season. And I think you really have to buy into the thought where they keep on repeating that spent 2 times on the disabled last year, never got off track. You know, he was a little bit behind. And this year from spring training on, whether it was the incentive because he didn't make the starting rotation for Puerto Rico, and Dan, you can come back if you want in here, but Dan is trying to make faces off the camera here, but doesn't bother me at all. But I think the one thing was Pinheiro is throwing strikes. He's buying into keeping that sinker, pitching on the bottom of the strike zone, and getting the ground balls and letting the defense do the job.
Okay, Al, thank you very much. Let's get downstairs right now. Thank Dan as well. To Tony La Russa, brought to you by the Sheet Metal Workers Local 36.
I don't think there's a better hitting club in our league. They hit with anybody, and that was outstanding.
You had a lot of defense come to you. Happy with what you're seeing defensively. Great play. Talking that couple of moments.
Yeah, you know, Chris and I had a long run for that one. You know, Joe's seems like every time he plays, he makes an acrobatic play. But I mean, Joel worked quickly. Joel worked quickly, and you know, you get your defense on the toes. But I mean, he was really impressive and carried it deep, just about as you can in the game.
There's a little bit of a chicken egg thing. Good hitting helps your starter, helps your offense. Y'all scored 5 runs or more in, I think, 7 straight games. What does that do for your starters? What is that? How much help is that for a guy?
Well, I think they would all rather pitch with runs rather than, especially a club like this, that, you know, that can hurt you right away. But here we talked about it before, and when you have a dangerous lineup and you got a lot of innings, a lot of outs, just because you have a lead, you know, a couple, 3 swings and it's nothing. So I think that, I mean, he did a great job of just kept shutting him down.
Does that stand out some, though? I mean, y'all have had some good offensive teams that were maybe a little, at times, all or nothing. When you get 5, 6 every day, I mean, that just seems like an idea.
In September, we're getting 5 or 6 a game, and then it'd be a good time to talk about it. Don't want to pat him too soon.
Did you see something?
But we're taking hungry at bats. I mean, we're you know, guys are I don't think we've had a sleepy at bat all season. So when you do that, you give yourself a chance.
Joel was in the low 90s, I think, when he came out. Did you see something that
well, I just, you know, this was I thought it was a vulnerable time because he was going through the lineup for the 4th time, and he had an 8th, but when you have an opportunity where you do have more than a 1 or 2 run lead, you give, once he misses the leadoff man, gives the bullpen a chance to make a mistake or 2. So.
Tony, this will be the 3rd series you guys win. Is that what jumps out to you most? You think of the win so far, the series wins?
I mean, that's just stuff that you look at. What jumps out at me is that we have been ready to play, you know what, 2 weeks and 2 days. That's what I look at. If you're ready to play, then you're either good enough or not. I mean, that's the first checkpoint. If that's good, whatever the numbers are, that's what they are.
6 straight at home, anything to you, or is that just a number?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of the opposition, it means something, but this is April. If it's the last time you say that, it doesn't mean much.
Are you impressed that Pinheiro has helped himself at bat when he did very little to help himself last year?
Well, I would say, I was going to try to be cute, but then he may be listening in the clubhouse. So. I congratulate him sitting today. Well, you know, in all seriousness, they gave the starting pitchers gave him the most improved award in spring training. After the work and everything, he got the most improved player award among the pitchers, starting pitchers. So it's not an accident when he would drill a single to right field.
Well, I find his walks have been significant.
Well, I mean, I guess he looks hitterish at the plate. They're careful.
He also had most improved, right?
What did I say?
Room to improve. You said he was the most improved, but he also had a lot of room.
Well, maybe that's how he got the award. I mean, I don't know. He was. I'm just saying that they told me that they voted him the most improved.
Was that hitting or overall?
No, it's at the plate. This is all for all the work they do. You know, I don't want to take anything away from it. That's what he got. I'm sure he earned it because they're tough.
Tony, you got to get no hand.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was, he just saw a little nick. I don't know if he started swinging and stopped it or. But, yeah, he says all right. What else we got?
Would you talk about Rasmus's first 2 at-bats and his base running going to third to give you a chance to score another run?
Well, I think it's that, Maine's got good stuff, and he got on him. I've never seen him before. I mean, he's doing a good job. So, yeah. He actually is a little bit slow on that, on going over there, but he's got the ability to run the base. He's got his explosion is good. So, I mean, he's handled himself very well, and all he's got to do it for the next 5+ months, and hopefully a 6th one, and we can really pat him on the back. Okay.
From Tony La Russa, let's go to the highlights. You just saw it here on Fox Sports Midwest. Top of the first, runner on first and third for Albert Pujols after a Colby Rasmus double. Albert gets a little too much under this. Deep enough, though, to score Skip Schumacher, who tags up. RBI number 17 for Pujols. It's 1-0. To the top of the third now. 2 outs. Jose Reyes on second for Daniel Murphy. And Murphy, it's a seeing eye single. Up the middle. Reyes comes around to score, and the game is tied up at 1. That would be it for the time being for the Mets. Bottom half of the inning. Pujols up again. Runners on first and second. Hits it hard.
He's locked in,
left.
isn't he?
He really is. Joel Pinheiro rounds third, helping his own cause. How about sliding in safe under the tag? 2-1 Cardinals. They'd had another before the inning ended. Next inning, it's Joe Thurston. He belts a line drive deep to right over the head of Ryan Church, who misplays it. Goes off the bottom of the wall. Khalil Green motors all the way around from first base, and Thurston has his 2nd career triple and his 8th RBI of the season, and the Redbirds are up 4-1.
Damage every game Thurston's in.
You're right. 2 batters later, it's Skip Schumacher, and he fists a single up the middle. Thurston scores. The Cardinals now a 5-1 lead. Let's go to the top of the 5th. 1 out, and Jose Reyes up, and the defense, well, it was great all night, and we showed you this to start the show. We'll show you it again. Chris Duncan, the sliding catch, and Rick, much maligned sometimes. Sometimes it's deserved when there's a lapse, but he can still.
He's really worked at it. He's really worked at it. He made 2 very good plays today.
And so did Khalil Green, robbing Ramon Castro. Throws him out at first base. 5-2 the final. It was Pinheiro going 8+. He finally gave up a leadoff double to David Wright there in the top of the 9th after retiring 13 in a row. And Pinheiro picks up the win. And, well, he looks very good in doing so. In fact, he improves now, Rick, 8-2 as a Cardinal starter at home. There's a couple of things there. He likes being a Cardinal, and he likes pitching in this ballpark.
And he's also on a roll. You count spring training, and you're talking about a very good 2009 for Joel Pinheiro. As Al talked about, he's in the walk year, and maybe he's got some incentive. But I just think he's found out something new, too. I think he's figured out how to use that sinker, and off to a great start at 3-0. The Cardinals have needed him to do that, considering what happened to Chris Carpenter, and maybe he can keep this going.
3-0 for the first time since 2002 in his career. We're going to take a break right now while we have some emergency equipment driving by. We'll talk Joel Pinheiro's night. Rockin' and Joel coming up.
U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is brought to you by U.S. Cellular. Believe in something better. And by Helitech. If your basement or crawl space leaks when it rains, heal your home with Helitech.
Time now for our Helitech King of the Hill. This is a no-doubter, Joel Pinheiro.
The Cardinals are 4th in the National League in pitching going into this game, and Joel Pinheiro helps that cause, maybe makes them even better, as he was outstanding today. Ground ball after ground ball, low pitch count through 8 innings, just 86 pitches. Pinheiro, 2 earned runs. He ends up giving up a run in the 9th inning, but he kept his infielders busy. A couple of good plays behind him. There's a play by Thurston that was outstanding. Khalil Green also made a great play, and of course Duncan, the 2 good plays in the outfield. But he kept every infielder busy. He did not strike out a batter. You do not have to strike out batters to win in the National League, and Joel Pinheiro proved that today. Also got into the action by rounding third, and Jose Oquendo said, "You can score, come on." And he did.
And he did. Slid
Albert RBI, very nice.
And appreciated there, certainly, and appreciated when he came out of the game, and that was where you saw the standing ovation right there at the end of that look at his night. And Joel Pinheiro was also Don Brown dealing tonight, Rick. And the key, and it's been mentioned time and time again, but we're going to show it visually, and that's getting the ground ball outs instead of the fly ball outs, and a huge advantage for him when he can do so.
Well, if you keep the ball on the ground, you're going to be a lot more successful if you're a sinker ball pitcher. So all of the pitches need to be down in the strike zone. The first two right there, one's in, one's out. All the player's going to do with that pitch is beat it into the ground. If it's moving down and the location is down. And I really still think that the best, most important part of a pitcher is what happens the last 3 feet before it gets there, and that's the sinker slider of Pinheiro that is forcing the Mets guys to hit the ball on the ground. An assortment of pitches there. There was a breaking ball as well, but the ground ball again was king for Joel Pinheiro tonight. 16 ground balls in this game. He had 14 in his start on April 10th, only 4 in his last outing, which wasn't quite as good. So that really is an indicator of whether or not he is on or not, whether he's getting guys to beat the ball into the ground.
Rick, he told me yesterday, I interviewed him talking about what's made him better, and it started in spring certainly, and he said, well, it's the sinker obviously, but it's the fact that he feels comfortable now and he's effective even if he were to throw it 80-90% of the time. And so that means he must really know what he's doing, because you would think the hitters would figure that out.
And there really isn't a lot to do with what a sinker is, Pat. A sinker basically is just a fastball that you are getting a little more movement on. You're maybe not throwing at 100% velocity, but at the last minute it's going to kind of dip, and so you have to trust that I can throw this at 90% effort perhaps, but get a little finger pressure and make that ball kind of dip at the last second. And a lot of pitchers don't like to throw the ball 90% velocity because they think, boy, I got to get 100, I got to get 100. But when you get 100% of your effort, a lot of times the ball straightens out and it doesn't move. And so you just have to trust it.
Well, he's trusting it right now, and he needs to continue to do that, both home and away. When we continue on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live, little Rasmus Taz.
U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is brought to you by Country Financial. What's your idea of financial security? And by Steel Outdoor Power Equipment. Powerful, lightweight, dependable, versatile. Yard care solutions start at steeldealers.com.
Time for a play of the day, and it again is Jose Reyes with the fly ball that is sinking away from Chris Duncan. He makes a sliding catch. He also made a great grab going into the stands in the first inning as well, and so Chris Duncan showing that he has the ability to cover a lot of ground.
And there's a wall there too.
Yeah, so a little, well, he knew where it was. He also knew that if he slid, he'd get the job done, and he certainly has done that. Criticized heavily over the weekend for the dropped ball at Wrigley Field, and that was a lack of focus kind of mistake. But when Chris Duncan is, well, if he's playing every day, which he has been, I think you see a lot more of those examples than we saw of the one time he's dropped the ball this year.
Well, I wonder if we're going to see his defense improve the way we've seen his bat improve, just as he gets more confident in his game. And certainly, we've talked about the injury that he had last year that hurt his offense, but I think the defense certainly follows. When you're comfortable and you're not dealing with neck issues, you just feel better overall. And the Cardinal defense was outstanding today. A couple of double plays early on helped out Joel Pinheiro, kept his pitch count down the first 2 innings. Double play to end the first, double play to end the second, and then it was just all Pinheiro after that. All Pinheiro with some help from, again, Thurston at third. He made a couple of nice plays, including this diving play that saved a run. That was a big play in this game. And here's Duncan again with the play down the left field line. He made that one earlier. This one a sliding grab. Again, the confidence just growing in him as a player. He just seems so much more confident in all areas of the game, and Khalil Green picking it in the hole and firing out Ahmed as well. I mean, just an excellent day overall for the Cardinal defense. And you just, Molina kind of set the stage, because I thought Molina's defense was outstanding in game 1 of this series, and I think the rest of the Cardinals kind of followed suit today.
In fact, Tony La Russa, before the game today, talking to the media on the field, said that he can't remember a time when a catcher had a better defensive game than Yadier Molina had last night.
Well, and you also have to give Molina some credit for what he's doing with Joel Pinheiro in this game tonight. Obviously, we've talked so many times about how important that relationship is between a pitcher and a catcher, and they have to be on the same page, and the catcher is kind of, helping you through every single at-bat and every single inning. So Pinheiro wasn't doing that on his own tonight. I mean, he certainly gets all the credit, deserves the win, but Yadier Molina is in with him in every single thing that's happening and a part of it, a big part of it.
You know, Colby Rasmus was in the lineup tonight, hitting number 2. You know that, of
I do
course.
know that. Cal made out the lineup. I saw that.
And Cal made out the lineup, which brings us to exactly why Tony La Russa decided to go with the rookie in right field and hitting number 2 in the lineup. In fact, here's a little snippet of why Tony says he put him in the lineup tonight.
Rasmus and Duncan, where do they go? So I'm going to write Rasmus into the second spot, CC or RSM. You know, Colby hasn't played, it would be 3 days. This would be the 4th day. He needs to play.
So now you know why Tony thought he'd be perfect for that. Now, his first at-bat, how about a double down the right field line?
Yeah, that's a really good at-bat. In fact, he had 3 very, very good at-bats in this game, did Rasmus. And you know, you have to keep him sharp, and that's really what Tony's talking with Cal about as they were making out the lineup, as Tony was making out the lineup before the game.
Cal was just looking over his
Cal was
shoulder.
eavesdropping and getting a lot of great things from that. But Rasmus had 3 times where he really hit the ball hard. He flew out his 3rd at-bat as well and hit that ball hard. And he plays a very good outfield. You know, I don't know that he's the best Cardinal outfielder yet, but he might be someday. You know, Rasmus has to play. You can't sit a young guy for weeks on end without him getting rusty. I mean, maybe an older guy can figure out a way to stay sharp, but a younger guy has to play often enough. And Rasmus hadn't been in for a while, and he certainly was a guy that made an impact tonight.
Certainly did. We'll continue on U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. You're going to hear from Ryan Franklin and Joe Thurston. Quite a night for him as well. A 5-2 victory tonight over the Mets here at Busch.
U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Right now, try the mini sirloin burgers. They're 3 delicious burgers toasted on mini buns. And by Honda. Better made vehicles cost less. Visit your Gateway Honda dealers to learn more.
Ryan Franklin gets another chance for a save and doesn't disappoint. Comes on with 2 outs and a runner at second base and a 3-run lead, and he gets Gary Sheffield to pop out in foul territory to Yadier Molina. Ryan Franklin with his 4th save goes one-on-one with our Jim Hayes. Jim, take it away.
Pat, I am with Ryan Franklin. Ryan, now in the role of closer, is that fine with you? Do you prefer closing? Where are you with that?
I'm fine with pitching. Doesn't matter whether it's 7th, 8th, or 9th. I'm just happy to be out there and, you know, competing.
Does it change your approach at all, though? Being a setup guy at one point, now shifting roles. I mean, does the preparation change at all?
No, it doesn't. Short answer. Sorry, but no.
There has to be some change in preparation if you're finishing games as opposed to not sure when you're going to be pitching. There's got to be a little bit, at least mentally.
Yeah, I mean, mentally it is. You know, as far as when I'm getting prepared and what inning, I mean, now I'm going to start getting prepared late in the 7th or in the 8th. I know that, you know, if the situation comes up where, you know, there's a safe situation, I know that I have to be ready, so.
A lot of young guys in the bullpen. Do you help them along too? Guys like Mott, Perez, maybe show them the ropes a little bit?
Yeah, I think that those 2 guys have got a little taste of it last year and saw how they need to be ready and need to kind of prepare a little bit before maybe their innings come up, whenever that might be.
You're on fire at the start of the season here. When you're pitching well like you are right now, what's going right for you? What are you doing that you have to do?
Well, I'm getting ahead in counts of 2 hitters, and I'm able to put the ball where I want to. You know, I'm able to locate my fastball, and I think if I can locate my fastball, I got a lot of options to go to after that.
Series win after series win thus far. You guys got to be happy as a team where you are right now.
Definitely, man. I mean, there's high hopes for us. You know, we thought there was a real good chance for us this year, even though some people didn't. You know, but you know, we got a lot of heart on this team, and you know, as you saw last night, battling back like we did, that you know, it's going to be a good season.
The experts like Pat Paris had it wrong again. Last thing, the beard's getting a little bushier. You going to ever trim that thing?
I don't know. just trying to be ugly as possible.
It's working.
Thank you.
All right, Ryan, thanks for the time, pal. We're going to send it back to you, you expert, you.
Love how he throws me under the bus.
That's what Jim was trying to do, actually.
Loves
trying to be ugly as possible.
Well, yeah, and he throws me under the bus like I picked the Cardinals anything but winning the division. Remember, I'm the one that said the big surprise would be that the Cubs wouldn't even make the playoffs this year, and the Cardinals will win the division.
Jim likes to do that. I like the conversation, by the way, about preparation, mental preparation.
Exactly. What does that mean?
Well, it's interesting, and it's a great question Kat's asking him about, do you prepare differently for the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning? And, it isn't the physical part, but the mental preparation. For, people say, what do you mean mental preparation? Well, what happens is you're thinking about the whole world at one point, you're looking up in the stands, you're having conversations about nothing with your teammates, and all of a sudden your focus gets narrower and narrower and narrower to the point where you are so locked in and ready when the phone rings, you know it's for you, and you know that you've got 10 or 15 minutes of work concentrating at a supreme level. And that's what pitchers do. That's what relief pitchers do. Right. And the guys that aren't able to go from this soft focus to that hard focus struggle. And maybe they don't get it quick enough. Maybe they get it too late. Maybe they don't get it often enough. But Franklin's very tough mentally and certainly doing a great job this year.
Very nice job explaining that. We should understand exactly what's going on. Almost like going from a fan to being the player, and now a specific player with a specific task to do.
Because they're different than not everybody understands. Right. It's like a kicker in football. Not everybody understands those guys, and in baseball, not everybody understands the reliever. They seem to be so relaxed and goofy and doing all kinds of crazy things during the game because they don't have to concentrate. If you concentrate for 9 innings as a reliever, you will wear yourself out by week 3 of the season. You just have to kind of almost not pay attention, frankly, to what's going on. But when the phone rings, you got to pull it back in, rein it in, and you got to be sharp.
Let's get to a text message. It's U.S. Cellular text time. And first up tonight, it's Don, Sarah, and Taylor in Colorado watching us on satellite, no doubt.
3 people texting at one time.
Yeah,
how did they do that?
Maybe they took turns one letter at a time. Looks like Pinheiro put on a sliding clinic for the Mets. And let's go back to last night, Ricky, and remind people that, Carlos Beltran not putting on a sliding clinic last night.
Well, I think that's the point of the text, because this was a big play in last night's game. We talked about Yadier Molina's defense, but really Carlos Beltran makes a mistake after he goes to third. He hustles to third, but then when the ball gets away from Thurston, there's a play at the plate, and he doesn't slide. He almost not sure what he was going to do. At one point, it was like maybe he's going to kind of bowl Molina over, then he was going to slide, then he just kind of stood up. And again, Thurston's running for the ball. Beltran's running for home, and a slide would have made him safe. Tonight, Joel Pinheiro, he's got an opportunity to slide, gets under the tag. Castro thinks maybe he would have tagged him, and he's out, but Pinheiro does a good job. He cuts the base pretty well, not that wide of a turn. Oquendo's sending him home, and he goes right to the base. Good hard slide, and gets an RBI for Mr. Pujols, his 18th of the season. One more look, gets the inside of the base. He might have hit the wrong foot on the base, but he still gets to the plate as quick as possible and picks up a big run for the Cardinals.
Castro looked down again real quick. I think he thought he was blocking the plate. Turns out he only had about the back edge of the plate and didn't have the plate completely blocked, and so that was a key as well in that slide. Let's get back downstairs inside the Cardinal clubhouse and hear from Cardinal infielder Joe Thurston.
Joe, the adjustments to getting more reps at the big league level, what's it been like for you?
It's been a good experience. We have a great club with great hitters. So every day I'm paying attention to the guys in front of me. Obviously Albert is the greatest hitter, and so I'm always watching him, in the cage, off the tee, early work, whatever it is. I'm always trying to pay attention so I can learn something from everybody on the team. And I think that's one thing that everybody does here is, everyone feels that they're good, but we always want to be better. And so we take that approach of trying to get better by learning from different guys, coming out here early, getting early work done, and all that kind of stuff.
RBI, triple for you, fine defensive play. When you're not getting an opportunity every day, do you feel like when you're in there, you got to make something happen?
I think I just try and go out there and play the same game. That kind of stuff you can't control. Great plays, all that. You want to go out there and be the guy to make the great play. I'm always ready to make the play, but I don't try and change. I don't try and go out there and, okay, I'm going to be the guy to make the great play. I'd say I'm going to be the guy that makes the play regardless, and wants to get the hit, wants to make the play, wants to score the run, whatever it is, to try and help the team win.
Third base, second base, doesn't matter as long as you're in there.
Exactly.
This afternoon, the Cardinals in Major League Baseball holding a news conference to announce the release of the All-Star ballot. A couple of All-Stars there, the Wizard and, of course, Albert Pujols. Fans began voting tonight in stadiums around the majors, and you can vote online at MLB.com.
You know, I've been in 7 All-Star games. Obviously, this year, if I can get the opportunity to represent the Cardinals in the Summer Classic, it'll be extra special in front of our fans. And hopefully we can end that streak or losing streak. You know, the American League is killing us, so hopefully we can do it.
Here's some food for thought brought to you by Jack in the Box, and it's the current members of the Cardinals who have played in the All-Star game 7 times for Albert. He acts like, you know, well, maybe if the fans help me out, I can get on that team. No, he's going to be on the team.
Like you're trying to make the team out of spring training.
Yeah, exactly, and he may lead the vote and tally anyway. Troy Gloss 4 times, certainly will not make it this year because of the injury. Chris Carpenter, 2-time All-Star, also probably not going to make it because of the injury. And Ryan Ludwig, well, I think that's a guy that has another chance to make it. And, well, Rick, let's assume that Albert makes it to his 8th All-Star game. By the way, we're already filling out our ballots.
Yeah, I've got a hanging Chad on mine. You have to be careful about
yeah,
these.
you have
got
to punch it all the way through and peel it off the back. But they're at the stadium now. So
just like City of Chicago, vote early, vote often.
Vote early, vote often here at Busch Stadium. Okay, Albert makes it. Let's assume that. Who joins Albert in July right here at Busch Stadium?
Well, there's a lot of possibilities, I think, and certainly we're only a 10th of the way through the season and already to be voting. There's lots going to happen between now and then. But Ryan Ludwig's a guy you've already got to be thinking about because he's off to a very good start. He had 299 last year, 378 so far with 5 homers, 16 RBIs. He's got the power stroke down, and he's becoming one of the more feared hitters in the National League. I think pitchers are really understanding that this guy is for real. Last year was not a fluke, so I think Ryan Ludwig has a chance to represent the Cardinals again here in the Midsummer Classic. And, you know, there's some other players as well, but Ludwig is a guy that certainly represented the team well. But Yadier Molina is another guy that comes to my mind as a guy that probably should have been an All-Star a couple other times.
Yeah.
Gold Glove, he finally got that. Maybe this is the year that Yadier Molina's finally a National League All-Star starter. 348 is what he's hitting through first 13 games. Not a big home run guy, but what he does behind the plate, handling the pitchers and also making some great defensive plays. He's just amazing as a catcher, the best, and certainly picking off guys left and right. Yadier Molina's got a very good chance of being a National League All-Star.
I would agree with you wholeheartedly. By the way, Yadier Molina picks up his Gold Glove for catching this weekend. I think Saturday they're going to honor him with the Gold Glove, so well-deserved there. Now, what about pitching? Is there a pitcher on the Cardinals staff that you think has a chance to be in the All-Star game?
I think there's actually a couple of them. I think one of the ones that comes to my mind first is Adam Wainwright, the Cardinal starter that's probably got the best stuff as the guys on that staff whose last name is not Carpenter. He's got the great curveball. He's got kind of the moxie of be a big league starter and to be successful, and he can go on a roll. He's the kind of guy that can just reel off 6-7 straight wins, which I think is what you need to do to be an all-star. And he's been all-star caliber during stretches in his career. But I think if he puts together enough good games in a row here early on in the season, people are going to have to start looking at him.
Now, a guy that's already off to a great start, and if he continues to pile it on like this, and I'm talking about Kyle Loesch, he's got an excellent chance as well.
Well, I think the thing about Loesch, too, is you look at last year, and he probably should have been an all-star last year. And really, you know, you think about guys that were put on that team, there were a few guys not having as good a year as Kyle Loesch was having last year. And perhaps when they start to go to the point of selecting pitchers, somebody feels guilty enough to say, let's make it up to Kyle Loesch and let's put him on the All-Star team this year. But, you know, I think he's out there so far earning it anyway on his own by the way he's pitching. You know, he's also the kind of guy that can get on a roll and win 6 or 7 straight games. And so, you know, I think Loesch and Wainwright both have chances.
Well, if this team continues to rack up the wins, they could rack up the All-Stars as well. You're talking about maybe 4 or 5, who knows?
Well, the only other dark horse that I did not mention was Skip Schumacher, because you look at second base, and other than Utley, not a lot of names at second base where you'd say, well, you know, this guy's a shoe-in All-Star. There's a lot of possibilities, but, you know, Skip hits 320 in the first half, and maybe he's the second baseman.
And come down to Busch and vote, or get online at MLB.com and vote early, often, and always for the Redbirds. Before we head to break, Cardinal fans, we want to remind you about the Crackback Sweepstakes. Go to woodsbasementsystems.com/FSM to win tickets to the Fox Sports Midwest Suite. And remember, if you have foundation cracks, call the experts at Woods Basement Systems. Good luck to all those who enter. Still much more to come on this edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live. You're going to hear from the Gold Glove catcher Yadier Molina, and we hope he's an all-star. That's coming up next.
U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live has been brought to you by U.S. Cellular. Believe in something better.
Ricky filling out his ballot, and thank you, Rick.
How about that write-in?
I don't know.
Write-in vote.
Fox Sports Midwest, I don't know what position that is, but I will be a National Leaguer.
Well, I was going to say sitting is your position, but
I do sit a lot.
Yeah.
Certainly, I cannot play in the American League because I'm not a fan of the designated hitter. The Cardinals, a 5-2 winner over the Mets. I'm a big fan of that, and a fan of Joel Pinheiro tonight, who goes 8+ innings, gives up 6 hits and 2 runs, walks 2, doesn't strike out anybody, but he was terrific. Ryan Franklin, after Dennis Reyes comes on to get 2 outs, Ryan Franklin gets the final out to get his 4th save of the season. By the way, Rick, the last game that the Cardinal pitching staff had no strikeouts but got the win, April 27th, 1999.
Wow.
They beat the Colorado Rockies 7-5.
Without a
10
strikeout.
years with no strikeouts, but still getting the win, and they were able to do that tonight. One of the big reasons, of course, as always, because Yachty handles the staff so well, is Yadier Molina. Let's go back inside the Cardinal clubhouse and hear from the Cardinal catcher.
Oh yeah, I mean, he did a good job, throwing strikes, keeping the ball down, getting a lot of ground balls. I mean, if he do that every time, he's gonna be okay.
Can you tell from the start of the game that he's got that sinker working?
Yeah, every time when you see the pitcher in the bullpen, you can tell what he got in that game. So, yeah, I can expect that from the right to the get-go.
What's different about him this year from last year?
What's the difference for what?
Different about him
About him?
from last year?
I don't know. I think he did a good job last year. I mean, I think he's keeping the ball down better. I don't know what to say.
Is it a mechanical thing with the sinker to keep it down? What is that?
I don't know. You gotta be, for keep the ball down, you gotta stay on top of the ball. You can't be on the side. So I think he's doing a pretty good job to stay on top.
You guys are scoring about 6 runs a game. And it's been like in every game. It hasn't been like feast or famine. Do you think this offense is maybe even better than a pretty good offense last year?
We got a couple guys who can swing the bat pretty good. I mean, young guys who wanna play every day. They doing their job. They take it serious. I mean, they're talent. We got pretty good plan. We are my credit. He gave me a lot of information. So we are doing pretty good.
Other NL action tonight, Phillies hosting the struggling Brewers. No score in the 5th. J.J. Hardy yanks a 3-2 delivery from Joe Blanton into left, clears the wall. Hardy's 3rd solo shot, 1-0 Brewers.
He's been struggling, though.
Next inning, Mike Cameron up with 2 runners on. And Cameron is going to lace this one down the line in left. Into the corner it goes. A couple of runs cross, and the Brewers build a 3-0 lead in the 6th inning. Go to the 9th now, 3-1. Todd Coffey on to pitch with runners at the corners, and he gets Chris Coase swinging on a pitch in the dirt. Milwaukee wins 3-1, which means it's the 5th time this season that the Brewers get to untuck their shirts, Rick. The Brewers improved to 5-9, last in the division, and there they are.
Boy, don't they look wonderful? Don't they look like a bunch of professionals standing on a baseball field?
Last place. Did I mention they're in last place in the division? 4.5 games behind the Cardinals.
That's kind of embarrassing.
Last place.
It's embarrassing, actually.
Pirates sweep the once red-hot Marlins. 7-4 today. The Pirates just a game back of the Cardinals, tied with the Cubs now.
Getting good pitching.
They are getting very good pitching. Arizona shutout winner over the D-backs. There were 4 shutouts, as you'll see there, in the National League tonight. How about let's see, it was a Benji Molina walk-off double in the 10th for San Francisco in that win. We saw the Brewers untuck their shirts. Atlanta, a 1-0 shutout winner as well. And, Cincinnati shuts out the Cubs. Glad to see that. And Houston, a 6-5 winner over the Dodgers. So Houston's now 6-9, while the Brewers are 5-9 in the division. I mentioned the Brewers are in last place. Mets and Cardinals wrap up their 3-game set tomorrow afternoon on Fox Sports Midwest. Coverage gets underway at noon with Toyota Cardinals Live. First pitch comes your way at 12:40, and after the game, it's another edition of U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live with a preview of tomorrow's action. Let's bring back in, well, I know Al will be there. Did Dan return? Let's find out. Gentlemen, take it away.
We shall find out.
Looking forward to this one. Livan Hernandez will get the start for the Mets, and Kyle Loge for St. Louis. Loge coming off a so-so start against Chicago, but more times than not, we expect him wearing that Cardinal uniform to have a very good start.
Well, the Mets are a very good ball club. The Cardinals have taken the first 2, but I expect to see a lot of what we saw here tonight. If Loesch goes out there and pitches the bottom of strike zone, uses his sinker, we should see a lot of ground balls again.
And Al, we've talked about this being rivalry week. It's early on in the season. You've got the Mets, you've got the Cubs, and a chance at a sweep now tomorrow.
A sweep tomorrow, but you take them one at a time. But after you win the first 3, or first 2, you want that sweep. And remember, the club is playing extremely well, 7-2 here at home, and they regain first place.
All right, Pat and Ricky, we'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Tomorrow on the Cardinals Live, Toyota Cardinals Live pregame show, here's what you can look forward to. Remember, we get underway at noon. Jim Hayes with Greta Van Susteren of
How about that?
Of Fox News Channel. Nearly all Fox themed because Mike Shannon sits down with Joe Buck of Fox Sports. Did you see Joe today?
What a lineup we got.
Yeah, but
what a lineup.
See Joe today facing Mitchell Boggs and then getting on the mound and facing Ryan.
I did not see that.
Ryan Ludwig.
I did not see that.
For his HBO show. Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, let's talk about the starters for tomorrow. That Dan and Al kind of pinpointed this one a little bit. Livan Hernandez goes for the Mets, and it's Kyle Loesch who goes for the Cardinals. And Loesch, with the rain out and the off day, he's the only one that's staying on his regular days because he had an extra day last time out. So he gets to go tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing him pitch again.
Well, and he's gone deep in the game. And how about the game that he pitched on Easter Sunday? He was just outstanding. He's off to a great start, 2-0. Livan Hernandez is a guy that can go out and be awesome on a given day, and he can also be not so good. So, I mean, the Cardinals, we don't know what Livan Hernandez is going to show up tomorrow, but he's certainly a good athlete, and he's capable of shutting down the Cardinal bats, so they're going to have to jump on him early.
Tony La Russa said he was most pleased in this first 2 weeks and 2 days with how his club is prepared at the start of games to get right on it, and they've done that. We've seen them score some runs early.
And it's interesting. They're about 10% of the way through the season is all they are. So, you don't really want to say there's a lot of trends, but this team is starting to get a identity. That's kind of what happens after this part in the season. They played together in spring training, 30 games there, 30-plus games. They were there for, 5 weeks together, starting to get to know each other. Then they broke camp together, and now they've got some wins under their belt. They've got a road trip under their belt. So they kind of the team identity, the team kind of habits start to form. And right now you're looking at a team that's playing well at home, and you just hope that continues. And you're looking at a team that does not really make a lot of mistakes to beat themselves. We know we've had some bullpen issues and some hiccups, as Tony likes to call them a couple of times, which are going to happen over the course of a season. But generally, I'd say this is a team that is, overachieving is a term I'd like to use.
Well, if it's overachieving, let's hope it continues and continues tomorrow as well. Back to wrap things up, a gorgeous spring evening in St. Louis.